Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Octane Online Racing Simrigs Duro Series Season 3 here for round 2 in the wonderful Leicestershire County of Donington. Here for me, Cameron Fizzlethwaite and Aidan Squires. We've got Glenn on the cameras as well. Looks like a fair day. 26, 25 cars. I think we got our grid. Aidan, how are you going?
I'm all good, Cam. Good evening to everyone on the broadcast. Yeah, like Cam said, we're here at the world-famous Donington circuit. Not quite as well known for its GT3 races, I'd say. A bit more of a motorbike or other sort of other types of motorsport track. But yeah, we've got a nice long 3-hour, I think, endurance race tonight. Each of the teams comprising of 2 drivers, each having to fulfill their stint times and get the job done.
Absolutely. We are kicking things off with qualifying right now, and I believe we'll have it segmented into 10-minute intervals for each class, and obviously we'll have the pro-ams, the black borders next to their numbers going out right now, and we're following Roy Can. Obviously, yeah, a duo series, but only one of them does need to do the qualifying for the fastest time. We'll swiftly be getting on to silver class at the 25-minute mark at the top, but looking like pretty fair conditions for the UK, I have to say. So we're good for a dry qualifying, but who knows for the race.
Yeah, of course, it's England. We're always expecting a few clouds, possibly some rain on the way, maybe later on in the race if we get lucky, but track temp sitting at 27 degrees and with an ambient temp of 22 degrees. That's going to allow these guys to put down some pretty good times, I would say. Those are some pretty good temps for lapping as we watch Roy Ankin cross the beam first to put in a 1:27.3 for his first lap as he heads into turn 1, which is, I've actually looked at the corner names this time. So this is Redgate as we head through T1 and head down the hill into this fast left-right sequence. Quite scary sequence of corners, especially if you get them wrong. It can really throw you off. But that Porsche looking nice and dialed in as he does take a bit of the curb there. Hopefully that ends okay. Yep, he's kept it going straight, which is all good. As he heads up through Starkey's Bridge into McLean's, a difficult right-hander. Got to get the car over on the apex and accelerate it out to the outside. But from the other Pro-Am times we're seeing so far, Roy's doing a pretty good job so far.
Yeah, looking like a sterling lap, I have to say, in the Porsche as well for Roy Ankin. And well, we'll see a few more times start to tick off. Just a shout out to everyone in chat. Thank you for being here on the Saturday night. Thank you to those who are driving. Thank you to those who are helping putting this on. We've got Jay Carbon in the chat, Jan Tully, however, Jan Kafil, Toto, riding with Tim. That'll be Tim Gerb, who's in commentary later with us for the end of this race. David Marsh, Nate James, Jay with David Marsh again, and Kafil again as well. But thank you to everyone, and thank you to us on Twitch as well. But to see Roy here rounding the final corner, the Goddard's hairpin, and crossing the beam line again. And see if he improved. Looks like he pretty much matched his. He didn't really match. He went 4/10 slower, but we'll get live Delta now as well. Thank you very much to Glenn, always here, always on the cams.
Yeah, so it looks like, I'm trying not to call this too early, but Roy's probably going to have this one fairly easy if the current times are anything to go off, as he's over 7/10 ahead of the next car. I'm not sure if, does Roy race in sprints? I've seen the name before, but I'm not sure if he's a regular in our weekly races.
I would be the wrong person to ask. Been a little bit off comms this sprint season, but not a name I'm familiar with. And maybe that is why we're seeing a bit more pace out of him than we would for our pro-ams, but maybe a little bit of an unknown quantity. We can only class what we know, but we'll see how Roy produces. Qualifying is one thing, and it race is another, but definitely saw good lines there from Mr. Roy Ankin. He really looked like he knew what he was doing out there.
Alright, yep, so Roy, an academy driver, coming up through the ranks. Maybe we'll see him in sprints fairly soon with those times, as I think some of these other drivers that he'll be racing against are current sprint drivers. So well done to Roy as we look on board with, I think it's Richard Hopkinson in this GTR. He's going to make up a bunch of time at the Melbourne hairpin. as he gets it out there nice and square. Does lose a little bit on the run, but I think that's just the nature of the delta on these sort of corners. Oh, I think it's hard to tell with the delta as it kind of chops and changes, but he's going to cross the line, massively improve his time, get P3, and I've also seen Baker's gotten up into P2 with a decent lap, so only 3 and a bit tenths off Roy's time, but they've all still got another, I think it's 8 minutes of lapping to do, so they've got a little bit more time to just get their lines down, nail a few more corners, and pump in some better times.
I believe, not to jump in with the corrections, but I think it only got 3 minutes as we did start on the 35-minute mark, and we'll have be to the 25 minutes remaining as when we'll go to the silver class cars. So as soon as it hits 25, the silver cars will come out on track. Pro-Ams will be allowed to obviously finish their laps if they start before 25 minutes remaining. But on board with Ren now, going now down into the old hairpin, and you're 100% correct about the downhill descent as the spinning BMW really gives Ren a fair old scare, and unfortunately loses a couple of tenths, whether that was before or after, but a big scare there for the McLaren driver.
I think that's Mitch Kemp in the BMW. He has not set a valid lap yet, so we're yet to see him on the timing board. But yeah, Chris Wren and Baker are quite close. If Rennie can just get another lap in that's fairly clean, looking at his delta over the last few laps, he might be able to give a challenge to Baker. And we're yet to see if Ankin can improve. I'm not sure if he'll be able to. They'll probably have 2 laps from now, I think, if my mental maths is correct. So 2 more attempts to get it all together, and yeah, then that's the end of their qualifying session, and the silvers will come out.
I think the McLaren that we're following right now will be the only car to get this lap and one more, provided he does a respectable lap time. He kind of didn't really improve on that last lap, understandably so, having to take avoiding action from the BMW. A little bit squirrely on the exit there for the McLaren driver. It might compromise the run down, but he's still dead set even on his current delta, left and right. A little bit of a break at the weight transfer, and a bit of a clobbering at the inside. Got away with it, didn't unsettle the car too much, but did harm, I think, the exit a little bit, and wasn't able to carry the speeds. But now into McLean's corner for the 2 sets of right-handers with copies up the hill. We've got a little bit wide and a little bit of squirrely on exit, but still good so far. So deceptively evil corner, this double right-hander with the crest as well to properly make the rear unsailed. And you can see as he was out wide a little bit, the rear traction was already starting to go, but still green on the relative. And now for the S's, there's another deceptively evil chicane and a fair run through there as well. Could have been a little bit better, but now down for the 2 remaining hairpins, the Melbourne hairpin, but not the Melbourne width, but 2 tenths up on the delta. He's just about dead set even so far, so hopefully he can maintain a good line through Goddard's and seal things up. It might just be enough to pit Baker. A big improvement into the last hairpin as well. It's surely going to take provisional P2 in Pro-Am class for C-Ren, and he does so, but still half a second off Ankan. Definitely a very good time from Ankan.
Yeah, so Ankin's improved. Rennie's got through to his next lap by 1 second, so very lucky timing as the Porsche bails on his lap. I think, yeah, he's obviously not pulled up enough of a gap to continue, and Baker has also decided to join him at the Melbourne hairpin, as we see the rest of the silver cars now leaving the pit lane. Not sure how Rennie's doing on his lap, because we're looking at the Mustang, as we see the PG racing car of Chris Cooley, and now back to the McLaren, who's down quite a bit on that delta, so I don't think, especially coming towards this part of the track, he's going to be able to improve too much, as last lap, his final sector was probably the best bit of the lap. So yeah, I can't tell on my monitor, but I think that is 5 tenths down. Yeah, it is. So I highly doubt there's going to be an improvement we'll see here. But the silvers are about to come through Melbourne hairpin as well to start their laps. And I see a C. Cooley driving the silver Ferrari, which is not a name I'm used to seeing in silver, but obviously he's got some teammates that are going to balance him out. Okay, so he's driving with Matt Madden, who's an academy driver, so good experience for Madden here, watching certainly one of the best drivers OOR and possibly the Oceania region has seen, although not sure how much rust he's gotten in, probably a little bit, so he might need to shake it off. But yeah, driving that Ferrari, I would suspect he is going to go fairly high up on the timing tables for this session.
Yeah, absolutely. Driver at the caliber of Chris Keeley. Not the first time I've seen him in a silver-ranked car with his, maybe he likes his teammates a little bit on the slower side, not to say anything more than that. Maybe Lucas Keys is, gone too mainstream for him, for his liking. But he's going for a solid lap now. Not usually the machinery that we know Keeley for, as he ever loves his Aston Martin. But going for something a little bit more mid-engine right now in the 296, and definitely a very competitive machine. We obviously don't really have anything to reference so far, so we're still going to be waiting for this first time lapped. But I would be surprised to see anything other than a 26 or lower.
Yes, that is definitely the benchmark, especially in these sort of conditions. So he's going to come around into the final corner now. We're going to see what time he's able to produce on the first lap. Obviously, they get 10 minutes, so this first, and a 26.1, so that is pretty good from a first lap, almost into the 25s really, as we see Carl Johnson is a second off, Ben Oliver also 2.5 seconds off that time, so that's a pretty strong time to start off with. I'm not sure exactly what the pro pace is around here, but that's definitely going to be among them, I reckon.
Yeah, I dare say definitely be 25s I'd wager, but saying that, maybe they go even faster than that. To be honest, the goalposts get moved so many times I can't keep up anymore, especially when I'm not even driving. But we're on board now with Pete Viney in his Shell-esque Porsche. Currently 1/10 up on his previous best, the 28.5, which is dead set around the third or fourth for what would be the Pro-Ams, but obviously it won't count for Viney. We're seeing a little bit of a slide, four-wheel slide, but keeps it nice and tight on the apex as well. The Porsche does seem like a very good car here. I remember the old generation one was a decent car here, and there's no reason why the new one can't be as well. You can see his run through the S's chicane. It's not really the same S's that I feel like we're all familiar with. I'm just going to call it a chicane, but down into the Melbourne hairpin, we can all agree on. But going so well, lost quite a bit, but gained a lot on the exit as well. So I dare say maybe he went a little bit too deep on the previous lap, a bit late on the brakes. But dead set even so far on the Delta, but I'm sure many more times to improve with just over 5 minutes left for these silver drivers specifically.
Yeah, I must say, that is a simple but good-looking Porsche with that shell livery. So we flick to Dylan King, who's going to come across the line into P2 with a 26.9. So the other silver drivers started to get into the 26s now, obviously with the exception of Keckers, because, yeah, we've already spoken about him. But King's going to come down the Craner curves. He's going to follow, I think he's following the Porsche of the 314 Porsche of Rochford and Michael Babb, I think, are the two drivers in that car. Hopefully he doesn't get held up too much, as he might close in a little bit more here. But yeah, no, that's also a fairly simple, nice livery on the Aston. Just keep it nice and simple. And behind we have the amazing Godzilla livery, the OG Godzilla red, blue and white livery from the 90s, the turbo cars that used to run at Mount Panorama.
Yeah, good effort there from the Aston Martin, and those are the silver winners from the last race. So definitely on the pace. Won their class in Watkins Glen, and I believe that is Dylan King partnered up with Ben Wittner, I trust. But yeah, one for watch for Silver Class. As you see Pete Viney here starts another lap, goes to a 28.0 as well. It's a very respectable time on by with Jaden Rondinella in the 23 Nissan GTR in some fabulous retro colors that you alluded to as well. Very much like the old ATCC vibe, I imagine, and very sideways on the exit as well, running TC1 as many do in the GTR, but sometimes sideways isn't going faster.
Yeah, I've just noticed as well, Cooley's got the 25, so that's a 25.81 from Cooley on lap 3, I think it is for him. So he's turning up the heat now as we watch Rondinella come up to McLean's, get that GTR turned in, trail the brake off. It's probably a bit more difficult than some other cars due to its boat-like nature, but gets it turned in, and once he can really put the power down, this thing is an absolute rocket on the straights. So as long as you get it pointed, oh, that is the 314 Porsche off, I think, on the right. I don't spy any damage, so possibly just a little spin on the exit of Coppice, I would imagine. As Rondinella has gained a decent chunk of time, does lose a tenth and a bit on the chicane, so that's going to hurt him as he makes the run down to Melbourne hairpin. Breaks it nice and late. You want to really be patient with your throttle on the exit, as he does there. Nicely done. Points the car and accelerates. Does lose. It's going to be about a tenth as he comes into the final corner of Goddard's, and he's now getting close to Aston, so he's going to have to make a choice here. Does he continue doing fast laps with the... Is it 2 minutes to go in this session, I think? Or does he back off and make sure he doesn't get held off by the Aston Martin? So it's a choice he's going to have to make pretty quick, because yeah, that could come back to hurt him. As Johnson has also got his way into P2, so it's currently Nissan GTR P2 and 3. So obviously the GTR boys getting it done. They're not quite on the pace of Cooley, but I think we all expected that. So yeah, they're handling the boat pretty well around a circuit that is maybe not so favourable to this car, but also, as Cameron said, the goalposts are always moving in ACC, so it's hard to know what exactly is the best at all times.
Yeah, you wouldn't think it would be the most ideal car, as you see Michael Clark here, half a second up on his time. Should put him up to, yeah, P6 as well, just below Roy Atkin. 3 attempts to find if he wants to display the Pro-Am driver. But yes, the GTR is not a car you would expect here, but there is a lot of traction zones and a lot of acceleration. Mid-speed corners where that car does excel at. They're probably some of the weaker sides of these two hairpins, but you know, you can always dump it down into TC1 and just hoof to the floor. And we see that for Dylan King now going around Goddard's a little bit wide on the entry, and shouldn't affect his exit coming on to the next one, but will get around for one more lap, 50 seconds before the last chance is run. Scotty Rochford, I believe Michael Babb is in this car, but I wanted to say I saw in Discord that maybe he was looking around for someone to take his place due to a last-minute commitment. I'm not too sure if that's still the case, but I'm sure we'll find out later in the race when they have to run another driver.
Yeah, he's going to run into issues if he doesn't have a second driver, because I'm not sure he'll be able to complete the race, but judging by the fact he's currently qualifying, I assume so. But we flick to the... Oh wow, that is a GTR having a massive moment. I've just noticed out the corner of my eye, but there's another GTR that we're looking at, Carl Johnson. Yeah, Rondinella was the one that had a massive snap from one of the monitors we can see, but the stream cannot. I think it was going into Coppice, but anyway, Carl Johnson in P2. He's going to equal his time, roughly, that he's just done. Across the line, and I think that's it for him. So yeah, he's going to pull off to the side of the track. We've only got a few more cars now on valid laps, which are actually allowed to keep going as the pro drivers now leave their caves and come out onto the track to start their laps. Yep,
as the pro runners start to descend on the track. This is Madden, and I believe it was another Madden. D Madden is the one that we were looking at with Mr. Q-Elite. So this is Matt Madden, I believe, is the one who's recently started taking up commentary with us and finds himself P12 overall for the number 5 BMW. And just to the mission from before, thanks to I believe Ben Bittner in chat as well. Dylan King is not racing with him. He's actually racing in a different team with a different driver. So it is not the number 5 car that actually we were just looking at. So who knows what's happening right now. It's another 5 car, so I'm a little bit confused overall. But we'll forget about it. You know, you're talking bollocks as always.
Yeah, so we see Cooley's got the fastest lap by a decent margin there, 9 tenths the next car back. That's a pretty insane second sector comparing it to Johnson, who's not a slow driver. And yeah, so he's purple in all 3 sectors pretty easily. We'll see if the pros can challenge that time. I think maybe Lucas and Steve Ty and possibly Chris Taylor as well in that Honda, if he's driving. I'm not sure which of these drivers are obviously qualifying, as we can't tell until they actually start their laps. But we changed the camera to Mitch Hobbs, who is in that number 7 Porsche, plain white livery. Oh my gosh, that is a GTR. Yep, okay, so Lucas is, that is something weird happening with defenders. Yeah, he's
rejoin.
Yeah, I'm not sure if those guys are on laps, but if they are, they might not be too happy.
They're
about
not.
that.
I'm just
okay.
Gotta give Lucas the no benefit of the doubt.
Right, I'd like to see what happened there, because I just saw a green blob just sliding out of control out of the corner of my eye. So maybe he's just doing Lucas things and warming up the tires in a bit of an abstract way, but I guess we'll see if that works in a minute or two here.
Send him back to academy.
I agree.
Maybe he just wants to weirdly find the biggest gap on track, or wants to be behind every other car so he can catch it and complain why he can't get past that car when they're on valids.
True. That would be a very Lucas thing to do. Anyway, we head onto the final corner and get a nice exit, as Lucas does, onto the main straight. And braking just after the end of the green strip on the right, taking the late apex into turn 1, getting a nice good exit, running the whole track width like Lucas does there, as we head down the sweeping series of right-left corners into the very scary, I think it's the old hairpin down the bottom of this hill. Fast right-hander, you have to absolutely nail the line, otherwise you're going off the track. Down the small little sort of straight thing, I guess, but it's got a few bends in it, but up to McLean's right-hander, gets it nicely over on the curb. Nice and tidy through there as well, no mistakes as he brings it up to Coppice. Also no mistakes there, clips that apex, nice. Keeps it tight on the exit. Yep, this is all shaping up to be a very business as usual lap for Lucas. Nothing too crazy we've seen so far as he heads into the hairpin, or chicane now I should say, on the run down to Melbourne hairpin, where the GTR can stretch its legs a bit, although as we've seen it might not need to really stretch its legs, as it seems to be a decent car all round here. So we'll see if he can top Mitch Hobbs' time, as we can see some of the usual bumper decals that Lucas puts on his car. I'm not sure exactly what they are, maybe someone in chat can tell me what they are, but he nails that exit as well. He's going to follow the car of Jamie Comboy, and oh, that was invalid, I think, judging by the fact that it didn't. Yeah, so he must have invalidated the chicane or something like that. So because of that, we can't really see who is actually has the fastest lap right now. As there's lots of dust and a yellow flag. That is a car that was off. I think it's just returned to the pit lane. So there's been a little bit of an incident, as Charles Leclerc would say, in Sector 2 there. In a bit of a weird spot. I think it was on the entry to Coppice or something like that.
Definitely, the Honda in front has taken a mountain of curve and almost stopped on 2 wheels and understandably got out of it, because I think he would have killed any chance of an exit coming down to the chicane. But we're on board now with Aaron Lee. There's a little bit of a slide in midway through the chicane, and it's still valid so far, half a second up on his previous 27.2. A pretty tidy lap, I must have to say, for an out lap. So definitely lots of time to find, but nice to see an Audi here. There's not too many Audi users out there. It's a very tricky car to drive, and definitely hard to make the time out of, as it is definitely on the reins a little bit when it comes to BOP for the most part. Not too sure if that is still the case, but the fact that we only got one out of them, I'd say it's the case. Tim Purcell now here in the 149, 9/10s up as well, looking to get himself about halfway, if not even way more, going through Goddard's, maybe even close to a 25.
Yeah, good luck by Tim there. He's the closest person to Chris Cooley at the moment. But just on the Audi thing, obviously Breno could not convince Hobbsy to get in the Audi in the death trap, and they're driving the Porsche, although Breno does also love that Porsche to death, so yeah, that doesn't surprise me too much. As Connor Hind is the car qualifying for that Honda, so he had a pretty strong performance over the last few sprints from what I remember, so I'm expecting some decent times out of him. Expecting him to get a little bit closer to Chris Cooley, I think, and very well done by Tim Purcell. Percy was actually in the same academy series as me. I think it was season 16 or 17, so he's obviously making great strides here as he runs it right out to the edge of that curb on the exit, down the back straight into the chicane, very high speed chicane, very easy to get wrong or invalidate as he just gets a little bit of a slide, yeah, a bit deep and a little bit of a moment there. So he's going to drop, I think it was 1.5 tenths he was up, which is unfortunate, but he's still got a little bit more time to get his laps together. And yeah, he's currently P2, so very good effort by him. A 26.2 is a time definitely not to scoff at, but yeah, he's got a few more attempts. Hopefully he can make up some more time.
Yep, absolutely. And just a reminder, the end of qualifying is at the 5-minute mark. There's 5 minutes allowed for driver swaps if people who are not who did qualifying want to change over for the other driver to do the start. We're allowed for those 5 minutes, so this session is ending in just under 2 minutes. We're on board now, following Connor Hind in the 695 Honda, which has just been displaced down to P4 as Mitch Hobbs goes up into P3. A little bit slide on the entry as well, really carrying a lot of speed in, but very wide. I think the wide and tight, the wide line is really not ideal through Coppice Corner. You need to hung it tight, and he lost about a tenth and a half. Let's see if he can do anything about it coming into the chicane. He's invalid on the first, and definitely would have been valid on the second, even if he was. But he's got one more chance if he has the fuel.
Yeah, Percy up 3 tenths now as he shoots through the chicane. He's done it quite a bit more nicely than the last time now. All he needs to do is line up these last 2 hairpins and get them right. Let me tell you, it's very difficult, especially on this track, to see your delta be green up 3 tenths and head into these last 2 hairpins and absolutely nail them, because they are very difficult corners. They're such delta thieves, especially when you're on a good lap. So he manages to nail that final corner as well, maintains that 3.7 bits of tenth there to head up into P2 still, but only 2 tenths off the time of Chris Cooley. Oh, he's run quite wide on the exit there. This is his last attempt, as well as people who will start the lap behind him. So yeah, he's gonna have to give it his all here to get anywhere near that time of Chris Cooley. As we can see, pushing real hard, running the wheel onto the grass, but I don't think it's going to be enough. He's considering this track is also one of those where one mistake will cost you, so that mistake has now cost him just over 2.5 tenths. So yeah, he's going to have to really pull something out here, and I doubt that's going to happen, especially in this final sector. Yep,
and 141 will be the last car to cross the line on a valid lap, as we have hit the end of the board. 695, the Honda is done, as it's just yellowed up ahead and returned to garage. Hopefully that hasn't disrupted anyone else on the lap, but 2 tenths up there for Aaron Lee, and goes all the way up into P3 just ahead of Mitch Hobbs. I wonder if he has any time for the Porsche, and he does. A tenth and a half. No improvement. Tim Purcell improves a little bit, but still 2 tenths off Cooley. I believe Lucas Keys, I think, just went out there to do a lap, so they don't have any issues, but I think they might be doing a last to first challenge, hence why they are not up there at the tippity top of the board. 2 tenths now. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, sorry. One car I haven't seen is the 117, the Pixel Racers Mustang. which I expected to kind of be up here. I'm not sure once this Porsche crosses the line.
I have seen out there.
Yeah, it has been out. I'm not sure if it's whether it's invalid or it maybe doesn't have their strongest driver in it, because I know it's Convoy, yeah, and Mitch Hobbs jumps up into P3 as it's just Johnson now to finish his lap, I think, out of the guys running. But yeah, I'm not sure where that 117 is. We'll have to take a look at the board after this and see where they actually finished up.
Might be under a different number, because I don't think we've got a 177 on the entry list, but I could be wrong unless it's been omitted since. But Convoy is meant to be with Keys.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Well, it's the Pixel Races it must be Gibbons and Weatherburn. Yeah, I'm so used to seeing, sorry, my bad. I'm so used to seeing that Pixel Races livery on JC's 117 Mustang in sprints that it's just become ingrained in my head. But yeah, okay, so it's P10 for Gibbos. That is our qualifying results for the Simrigs Duo Series. Chris Cooley taking out the lead with Dan Madden in that 777 silver Ferrari. Obviously, Chris Cooley, very talented driver. I'm sure we're all aware of that. Second, well done to Tim Purcell in the Aston Martin, the first pro car, followed by Mitch Hobbs, number 7 Porsche. Aaron Lee, Connor Hind, Luke Johnson, Carl Johnson, Damiano Thurcolini, Jaden Rondinella, and Callum Gibbons.
Also, I just noticed Mr. Michael Babb, unfortunately, is unable to race tonight, but just to shout out the 316, that is the Porsche of Scott Rochford and would be Michael Babb, but it's now got Brady Adderton in it. Someone who is a very quick driver, so I'll be interested to see. Maybe I don't know if he's done any practice for this, considering he probably wasn't intending to last minute, but should be interested to see that car on a degree. But yes, congratulations to Chris Cooley, as ever, right at the top there, and only 2 cars into the 25s, them and Tim Purcell. Great job by Tim Purcell as well, I have to say, with Josh Holmes gunning in that car as well. Should be interesting to watch. Now, it's going to be a slightly later start time as opposed to 4 p.m. It's 5 p.m. now in-game time for the race start, and it'll be 3 hours. I'll be interested to see 25 track temp, 21 ambient, optimum for now, sunny with overcast for now. Will we see rain, chat? Anyone in chat thinks if we'll see rain? Don't look at your ACC driver or the tools that people use these days to guess and calculate all the weather and spoil it.
Yeah. I'm just going to turn my lights on in my room real quick, Cam, because I'm sitting here like a nocturnal animal with my monitor at full brightness and it's hurting my eyes. So I'll be back.
No worries, but yes, we got 3 minutes on the grid, but I believe we'll be having a look at some certain liveries.
Yeah, just going to jump in, Cam, for a sec. Got a special viewer tonight who's celebrating a birthday, apparently, with Bird, and some of the guys on the grid have actually adjusted their liveries accordingly. So we're just going to see what we can do about getting bit of a close-up on a couple of these. Let's see what we can find. One. Happy birthday, Xander.
Happy birthday indeed to a little tyke from the Noski household, I believe.
That's correct, and I believe he doesn't like... well, from the look of what I saw of his presence today, I don't think he likes Pokemon very much at all. He was surrounded by them. Let's see who else we can find. Gone past him.
Look, 141. We're looking for 141. Get on the tannoids.
Oh yeah, back.
Nice to see a whole bunch of these liveries by very talented people. Obviously, renowned McLaren, or the Mazda. So there's one.
Look at
Happy
that.
birthday, Xander, as well. Lovely.
Excellent. B69.
There's the
Over
Honda.
here.
There we are.
Another one on there. A happy
Lovely
birthday
stuff.
from everybody here at OOR, mate. Hope you have a great day.
Happy birthday, champ.
Yeah,
Probably,
that's
yeah.
that.
Consumed about 15 pounds of sugar knowing any young kid's birthday.
Yeah. I've just returned from my technical issue. I think I bumped something important in my PC when I got up. But yeah, happy birthday to Sean Bubnow Jr. From everyone
Xander.
here at OOR.
You get one coupon for a Coles chocolate mud cake.
Hey, they're pretty good, man. Like
That's all our budget can afford.
those cakes from supermarkets are pretty elite, I must say. I love them. Probably a bit too much, but anyway, 10 seconds to go here. Everyone's got their setup by now, hopefully, and have all pressed drive. Otherwise, they're going to be starting from pits. As we count down 3, 2, 1, here we go. All right. I don't think I've seen anyone go back to pits as Chris Cooley leads away the formation lap as they're all going to try to get some heat into their tyres. I don't know if you talked about it, but that renowned McLaren livery based on the Mazda 787 does look pretty good, hey?
Yeah, we were waxing everything out a little bit, and definitely one that's very popular, but shout out to everyone, and I appreciate all the liveries out there. Definitely helps us in commentary as well, because it's nice and easy to distinguish.
Yep, 100%. As this Pidgey Racing Team car is pretty easy to distinguish as well. As soon as I see that cyan, blue, and the pink, I know what it is. So yeah, Chris Cooley leading them away on the fairly short formation lap here, fairly short racetrack. There's a lap time here is one of the shortest ACC. I think Laguna is the shortest, and this is only a few seconds off that, but we'll see how these guys can get on, as that Ferrari not quite the best off the line. So we'll see if the Aston Martin has something to give down into turn 1, because I have a feeling that once Cooley gets going, he's going to pull a decent gap, but obviously it's going to come back to the other drivers when their second driver hops in the car, which should hopefully balance out their class quite well. As the next silver driver is P7, Kyle Johnson in the Nissan.
Definitely a last minute scramble here to hold double file as well. And Cooley will have the inside line, so it'll be a lot for the Aston Martin to make a difference. And I believe, trusting the time board, it will be Jay Holmes in the Aston Martin as well. So I'm sure he might be having to look a little bit at Mitch Hobbs coming up behind him as well. But I'll leave it to you, Aidan, to take the start. And I hope we have a nice clean one.
Yeah, so do I. All right, as we head around the final corner here, lining up two side by side, coming down the straight, waiting for that green light to pop up as the drivers get ready. Race start initialized. Here we go. They're all nice and in formation. Green, green, green. Away we go. Coming down the Wheatcroft straight into turn 1. There's some possible moves on behind as they all seem to sweep through turn 1. Oh, the Audis, oh, someone's off. Definitely. The Audis had a moment as well and lost a position. That might have been Thurcolini or someone just on the back end of that top 10. I definitely saw a car spear off the track.
911.
Yeah, 911. Unfortunate for the Porsche. Obviously with that 911 number for obvious reasons, but we look at Callum Gibbons here in the Pixel Racers Mustangers. Yeah, there's Damiano, unfortunate there after that first corner. I don't know if it was a spin or if it was someone else was involved in that, but yeah. The first 3 do hold stations though. I think there hasn't been any moves here. I think Aaron Lee did lose a position to that McLaren though of Johnson when he had that moment on the exit of turn 1. He just dipped his wheel in the grass and might be under threat here from the Honda as they all head down into the hairpin. Hobbsy prioritising that exit and pulling out a bit of a gap. Johnson was getting close on the entry, but Obviously trying to get the ideal line for the exit. The Porsche quite good on exit if you can get the traction down. So yeah, as we file through to complete lap 1, Chris Cooley's going to cross the line, obviously with the fastest lap. There is another car a little bit further behind, but apart from those few little incidents we had at the start, there hasn't been anything major that I've seen.
Yep. I think I saw 444, which is now the unfortunate last car in the running. Did have a moment between Coppice and McLean's, but it looks like they got going ever so quickly, and we'll find out what happened to Fercolini in shortly as well. But thank you everyone again on streaming. Thank you to Simrigs. Shout out to our new sponsors as well, Firma's take on the Sprint series as well. I've been seeing a lot of love going out here and there, but we've got a replay now. Fercolini there in the blue, yellow and red car gets wide on the grass and spins into the black and white GTR. Doesn't go around, but does lose all its momentum, and thankfully best avoided by most. Don't think there'll be too much damage. I believe that is Ron Danella's, Carl Johnson's GTR. I think there'll be minimal damage to both cars, and unfortunately just time loss for Fercolini. But I think that was unfortunately self-inflicted, just a racing incident, if anything.
Yeah, kind of lucky that the GTR does weigh as much as it does, because that could have been a lot worse had they started all pinballing off each other, especially on the exit of turn 1. It can get pretty cramped and side by side heading down into the crane and curves. So yeah, I mean, could be worse, but Chris Cooley again with the purple lap. He's already pulling a gap, I can see on the mini map, to P2 of Josh Holmes. So yeah, Cooley's going to try to get as big of a gap as he can to everyone behind before he comes in and does his driver swaps. But as we've said, 3-hour race, lots can happen in that time, obviously. This track is definitely one that punishes lack of concentration. There's a lot of places you can run wide and dip a wheel off and have a big accident. So yeah, you want to make sure you're nice and focused as we ride on board, or following Mitch Hobbs in that Porsche in P3. He's got the McLaren of Johnson fairly close for company behind, as well as the Audi of Lee, and a little bit further back the Honda of Connor Hind.
Yep, doing a good job so far. And it is a little bit status quo for now as well. It is not the easiest. Not to be fair, no track comes easy when it comes to overtakes. It requires a little bit of mistake from others, but he's keeping the McLaren of Luke Johnson at bay, but keeping Josh Holmes in sight in the Aston Martin as well. I'd be interested to see what their strategies are. Obviously, we didn't really get around to it, but yes, obviously, 3-hour race, a maximum driver time of 60% of race time, which is 78 minutes, I believe. So a maximum, sorry, not 78 minutes, a maximum of 108 minutes, which is going to be 1 hour and 48 minutes. My apologies. Always likes to trip me up with these funny little numbers, but we're going now again down into Craner curves as well, up into the old hairpin, and don't want to get too many little wheels on the grass, have a bit too much of a moment like Nigel Mansell did back in the Ford Mondeo, had an almighty crash into where that old bridge is in the background, and it was quite a heavy hit, but thankfully nothing of a sort in the sim.
Was that in British Touring Car? I think I remember reading about it in his book or something, but
yeah, I believe it would have been in the Super Tourer days of the Ford Mondeos. Far-fetched from these GT3 cars, but definitely ever so popular during its golden era.
Yeah, maybe a bit too old for me, but Lucas Keys also, I've noticed, made his way up into P15 already, as Ron Danella has a big slide through the chicane. I guess living up to that Nissan livery, if anyone's ever watched the old Godzilla go round, it is quite it likes to do some 4-wheel drive slides, because they obviously had a very early system of race all-wheel drive on that car. But he has got Dylan McDowell for close company behind. McDowell probably going to be a bit stuck here, because I suspect the GTR will be quite difficult to overtake on this track, as there's not many sort of sections where you can overtake that would be strong in the Porsche, I imagine, as the GTR can just maintain that super high top speed everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. You do have to kind of force a mistake, and there is quite a few many places that can easily transition into a pass coming through the chicane, I have to say, into the Melbourne hairpin, getting a bad run. There's definitely a possibility. Shout out as well to Brady Adderton, who did take the start for the 316, I believe, Bin Chicken Racing car, already up to 13th position in the Porsche. So one to watch as well on the back of Mark Bushell. Definitely got the GTR of Lucas Keys, who did start third last and is already on the back of these two as well. Brady Adderton and Lucas Keys. This will be quite interesting to watch, I have to say. A little bit of a bump there on the apex for the Porsche, and the GTR's right there. Will he have enough grunt and speed? He's going to go for the inside line. Brady doesn't hold him up too much, and I think he's actually fully letting him go. Yes, he has. That is sensible driving from the Porsche driver as well, especially because he's done no practice for this race. I dare say Lucas might get Mark Bushell as well going into the Melbourne hairpin. Hasn't looked, but doesn't go anything out, and kind of actually maybe forces Spark a little bit wide with a little small distraction. But even set going into Goddard's, going to edge ahead as well. We'll see if Mark concedes or to just play it even. It looks like Lucas has got the position a little bit closer there, but no harm.
Car off in the background.
Car off in the background. Yep.
Yeah, someone's just gone a bit wide. I think that's Connor Atkins into the final corner. Very tricky final corner. It's quite deceptive, and because of the camber, it's very easy to get wrong, as he's got Michael Clark for company behind him in that beautiful green and red Ferrari. Not quite able to get alongside here, although you probably don't want to be going side by side down the Kramer curves, as the Ferrari pulls out to the right but isn't able to do anything yet, just sitting and biding his time, as the Mustang of Baker is also there for close company. As we've got a bit of a battle here between, I think that's Bushell, unless the timing thing, it's Roy Atkins, sorry, leading this group, and Chris Atkins, followed by Michael Clark, Baker, and Thurcolini on the back of this group after his little turn one off. He's going to have a lot of places to make up this race, but he does have 3 hours, so I guess it's not quite the end of the world.
Yeah, already making a very good progress for Colini, considering he had a moment, and Atkins, unfortunately, deep in through the hairpin. But it looks like the Ferrari and both of them are actually really slow. The Mustang and the Porsche are already arriving on scene at a fair old lick, and the Porsche is going to go from the Ferrari. I thought the Ferrari might be able to get the Aston Martin, but looks like he might have had to check up. Maybe he couldn't get out into clear the Aston and had to slam on the brakes, because those two arrived at a fair old margin, and Atkins there wide again through Goddard's. Not as bad as the previous lap, but needs to rein it in a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. As Thurcolini's kind of the winner from all this. He's just gotten a position or two for free as Michael Clark goes wide, and the Ford just drives past on the exit like he's standing still. Now Damiano close behind Atkins in the Aston Martin. Damiano, as we get a nice onboard, so we'll be able to see how this Porsche is handling this track, as I think the Aston might be having a little bit more difficulty at this stage of keeping the car going. Oh, okay. Well, the Aston's got some superpowers going on. He's got some invisibility. Hopefully that doesn't affect Thurcolini's ability to actually race him, as Thurcolini might be able to get a run here as the Aston does start understeering on the exit, although there is some rubber banding going on, I believe, so it's kind of hard to see. But they're going to run through the chicane now as Thurcolini gets a good drive. I reckon he's going to definitely go for something here as Atkins moves over to defend. Thurcolini's going to have to take it around the outside into the Melbourne hairpin. Might try go for the cutback. Atkins does block the apex. Atkins does hold the position, but as we've seen, he doesn't quite have the best track record for this final corner, so he brakes early, gets it in, nicely done. Watch out for this cutback from the Porsche. The Porsche's gonna start to get alongside here, but it's gonna struggle as they get up the gears, as that Aston is pretty fast once it gets going. They're gonna head into turn one, sort of side by side, but not really. Thurcolini's just gonna have to hold positions for now and try again on the next lap.
Yeah, he might have to get quite decisive if he gets a moment, because with the rubber banding and also a driver defending as well, actively defending, he needs to clear this Aston Martin quite sharpish. So if he gets half a sniff, I think he'd have to be quite firm in it as well. But we shall see. Obviously can't ruin the race straight away. He needs to keep it calm. And easy to throw things away with too hasty of a move, but they are losing time, as you can see, to the green Porsche of Atkin up ahead, who is on the back of Bushel, with I believe Adderton having gotten through past the Porsche, the shell colours. And they're going now into the hairpin. We'll see how Atkins' run here is into this one. Half decent exit, very committed by Fercolini on the entry, carried a lot of entry speed in, but about the same on the exit as well. And he is going for a move from quite far back that is, I was gonna say, like, I know I was talking about being decisive, but he didn't really have a stake in it until the last minute, and thankfully Atkins saw him coming. It is side by side, neck for neck into Goddard. It's gonna be a hard way and a little bit of a door bang as well, as Fercolini is kind of left out to dry, I have to say. But I think that's pretty firm but fair. He's got to watch for the Mustang of Chris Baker as well behind, as we go around again to see if Fercolini can make another move, and a little bit, but not great through turn one. But thankfully the Mustang has a little wobble as well.
Yeah, quite action-packed, kind of unfortunately for Fercolini. He's providing us entertainment, but I can guarantee this is probably not where he wants to be. As he wants to be making up as many positions as possible and getting through these cars. But Atkins definitely putting up a challenge. He's definitely slowing Fercolini down, and if Fercolini's obviously not careful, he could risk being caught by this Ford who's behind them, which obviously doesn't quite have the same top end as it used to.
Ahead as well.
Still gonna, yeah, as Fercolini's got a good run here in front. He might try go for something after or in the chicane. He's going to try get a good exit here, as yeah, the two Porsches up. Oh, that was close. I think Fercolini had to check up there as he took a very aggressive line. And now the Mustang's coming from behind him, going to try go down the inside of the Melbourne hairpin. Has to look around the outside. The Mustang brakes are pretty good, but not good enough for him to make a move stick around the outside. But yeah, the two Porsches in front also having a bit of a ding-dong battle. So yeah, down the rear end of this field, there's quite a lot going on.
A little bit wide there from Fercolini, but yeah, that seemed quite unfortunate where I think he caught the rubber band from the Aston Martin right in the middle of the chicane where you're most committed. I believe that is a BMW. I think that's a lap BMW of Mitch Kemp. So Lucas Keys on the back of Callum Gibbo, knocking on the door of the top 10 almost just up ahead. But the Ford driver doing a good job so far. For Gibbo as well. Nice to see a couple of Fords in there. Not the domination of what it used to be when it came out. But yeah, I think that was a little bit worrying from Fercolini. I wonder if he might be enticed to maybe call the race director's attention if the car is starting to warp too much like that. We've seen a few times now, and to be honest, we've kind of only been checking in a few times from the commentary booth. Like, I'm sure obviously Fercolini's seeing it constantly. A lot more than we are. That's a good runner from Lucas Keys.
Fercolini's just got the move done. I've spotted on our other monitor at the expense of the Aston. So, yeah, it was heading into Coppice, I think, Glenn, was where it happened, if you're able to just get that up. But yeah, I do see some damage on the front of Fercolini's car. I'm not sure if that was from the Aston or from whoever. I'm not trying to say anything happened, but yeah. As Fercolini's now through, and we did see, I think, Lucas Keys also through on Callum Gibbons, the Ford as well. So Lucas Keys making his way through the field like a hot knife through butter, as usual. Already up into P11, and he does have a pretty competent driver with him as well, Jamie Conboy, to fill that second seat. So we'll probably see these guys get right up to the top three, possibly even take the lead.
Dylan King.
Yeah, Dylan King's a bit wide in that Aston, I think it is. Or sorry, the Porsche is wide, and Dylan King is trying to get something done here. Now Lucas is going to join this battle group at quite possibly the worst possible time, as all these three drivers are trying to get moves done on each other. So we'll see if Lucas can make quick work of these guys, or if he's going to get stuck here.
We've seen, yeah, Carl Johnson was ahead of Jadon Rondinella, but I wonder if Carl's had a few moments of he's feeling a little bit of maybe tire wear in the GTR as a bad run there from Dylan King, and surely Lucas Keys isn't going to let this opportunity go. It's the door is open,
Oh,
but
wow.
Dylan goes for a cut across and claims the apex as he ties it, and Lucas saw that he didn't really have the overlap. He had an opportunity, but he didn't have a stake in it, and didn't decide to last minute send it as well. Very safe from him. And so, yeah, Carl is really under threat now as well from Dylan McDowd in the Porsche.
Yeah,
Quite a
I
drop
thought.
off actually from Jaden Rondinello. I wonder if something has happened. So unfortunately, yeah, Atkins looks like he just goes completely wide. He just understood, unless there was contact between the two, but nothing I could see.
Yeah, it's a tough one. We might have to get an onboard to actually see if they did touch. Maybe it was that rubber banding as well, or he's just got a
little
bump.
bounce.
Yeah, a little bounce, and yeah, very easy to do. But yeah, like you were saying, be interesting to see what happened with Rondinello and Johnson as well, because there's been a bit of movement there. As Lucas Key's still kind of stuck behind this train here. He's going to struggle to overtake when they're all in the slipstream, because obviously the GT are quite strong on a straight, but when there's other cars with slipstream, it's quite difficult to overtake, especially in Aston, because it's pretty good on the straights. But I reckon Lucas is looking for a move here at the Melbourne Hep, and he's going to try to get as good as an exit he can out the chicane. As King gets, he did cut the apex quite a bit. I'm not sure if, okay, we're going to see a reverse of, yeah, we're going to see the same thing we saw last lap, where King quite aggressively comes in to take the corner and take it away from Lucas. Now Lucas is just kind of getting held up in here, bleeding time. As we've seen, he does have the fastest lap. I think it was a 26.1, so obviously he's got quite a bit more pace than these guys, but this track is, as we've seen, a little bit hard to overtake at sometimes, so he's kind of struggling.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's the great thing about the Melbourne hairpin as well. You can take many different lines. Some people like to stay out wide, but in the race you kind of don't want to leave that door open too much. So we're seeing Dylan King take that early turn in and kind of just hogging the apex, so not allowing the door to be wide open for anyone to send it, which is definitely doing the job, keeping him from Lucas Keys. But he's also getting just enough of a run out of the chicane as well to keep him safe from the GTR. Seen that maybe Lucas, a little bit of a wiggle there through the middle of the cleans, and that is going to allow the door for the GTR come through as soon as I start to brace someone, and unfortunately it goes wrong. So, you know, standard stuff, and Lucas definitely holds firm on Coppice as well. One down, Porsche to go for GTR.
Yeah, that GTR, once it gets going, is pretty insane. I just saw, even though King was right up on that GTR's rear bumper coming out of the corner, the GTR just drives away on the straight. So yeah, Lucas now setting after Dylan McDowell, who, as we get a replay of, I think this is what happened to Carl Johnson, rear stepping out into the old hairpin, and just Rondinello drives past. Thank you very much. Or McDowell tries to go for the very opportunistic move around the outside. Not quite what we saw. Maybe that was when we cut to the camera and saw them all having issues through there. But yeah, that could have gone bad for McDowell, but I applaud him for his bravery.
Yeah, not too... Probably saw things a little bit differently from his point of view, whether the GTR was kind of still recovering. But unfortunately as well, I did notice just as we went to that replay, 914, which is Roy Atkin as well, despite doing a very good job wide there from 912, and the GTR is going to come back. But Roy Atkin did go off, and unfortunately it's dropped down to P20. The GTR of Lucas Keys, though, is now through past Dylan McDowell with a small little exit for the Porsche. It's all it can take. But yeah, one more down for Lucas, and it is gonna be a a trio of GTRs as well. Who knew many years ago we think see this car as popular as it is, and I'm so glad to see it as well. It's sad to see no Bentleys as well, but to be fair, I'm not out there either.
Neither. Judging, well, I've just kind of tried to switch to the Bentley, but it's not treated me as nicely as I'd hoped over the last few races. But yeah, I mean, good car variety is always something we love to see. We love to see Hondas and Audis and stuff, not just the modern, shiny new cars. As now Lucas has got to pass two of his own kind. Connor Atkins getting a drive-through for an unsafe rejoin. So I don't believe we caught that. That'll be something we have to take a gander at. But yeah, drive-through for a rejoin is pretty serious, so there must have been something gone. Oh, there's some dust, I think. Oh, Rondinella's off. We've just missed that. But here's Atkins, or Ankan, sorry.
That's scary.
Okay, that... I don't know if that was penalty worth what we just saw.
No, this is a different car.
Maybe... No, I believe... Oh, is this not...
Atkins.
Atkins. One. Okay, so Ankan... Oh gosh, this is confusing. Ankan...
That was understandable.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's another replay. I saw Rondinella got bumped off into turn 1, I think. There was some dust all over the camera, and then I saw him just bouncing on the grass, and the timing table would show that he has lost a few positions. So I think something possibly happened with him, Carl Johnson and Lucas Keys going into turn 1, which will have to...
Definitely a cut for Dylan McDowd on the first part of that chicane, but I was going to say I saw the green GTR going up past Mr. Carl Johnson as well, so we thought it might be difficult, and in the space of a lap, he's got both of them on merit and not so much on merit as well. So, yeah, just that easy. It's all part of the script for Lucas Keys. But going well so far. P7 now has got 8 seconds, near enough 9 seconds to make up, so to have some clean air for a while, I'm sure, for Lucas. But we are probably finding out what happened to Mr. Rondinella, but yeah, it's fallen back behind P12. Like, I know some people say, like, it's been a while since it's been in a GTR and say it doesn't really suffer from tire wear, but I think not sure everyone agrees on that when you see the state of some of the GTRs out there that are not green, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think we're getting a replay now of what happened to Rondinella. So coming down into turn 1, the other cars are quite far back, so I fear this may be self-inflicted. Loses the rear.
Oh, no,
yeah. Oh,
too far into it.
Lucky the car didn't keep coming around onto the track and into the path of the other cars, but yeah, unfortunate for Rondinella. He's got a few places to make up now. Come on, guys! I was expecting you to do better than that in holding Lucas up. I mean, we got to have some way to stop him from winning every race, surely.
Yeah. Oh, Dylan King looked like he was going for a send, but it was just kind of the angle as he really dived towards the apex. But as you can see, it really compromises the apex when you go for that line. But he's still there, giving Dylan something that we've got. Dylan and Dylan, two different spellings, but sound very similar when I say them at least. On the back of Carlos as well in the GTR as well. Looks like he's managed to stabilize a little bit from his earlier moments.
Yeah. We didn't... Yeah, so there's now a battle pack forming in the sort of top 3 that's not Chris Cooley, obviously, as he has a 10.5 second gap already, which is quite insane, considering the caliber of drivers behind him. As I think it's Hobbsy's caught the back of Purcell, and in turn Johnson's caught the back of Hobbsy, because that Porsche obviously struggles a little bit on the straights, so the McLaren's able to just kind of cruise up behind him. And I think Hobbsy might struggle a little bit trying to get past this Aston too, as the Aston is not a bad car on the straights.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't, part of me wonders maybe there might be a bit of element of strategy, because not to say that Chris Cooley isn't quick, but not like Josh Holmes is no slouch either, so 10 seconds is quite a lot to lose in 25 minutes, but we have seen Cooley kind of do these incredible performances before, and they're coming up to a lapped McLaren as well, so hopefully that won't be too much. He needs to keep his eyes on the prize for the McLaren in his mirrors, because 5 cars are coming up behind him in short order. He might have to pull off and play it smart, pull off on one of the straights, get out of it early, and just let them all go past, because you're not going to be able to do one by one, because they're all going to arrive very quickly. It'll be like a Nordschleife tourist lap.
Yeah, definitely. This track also quite narrow and high speed, so not the easiest to give up blue flag positions to. So now this group is all kind of consolidating, even back to Connor Hind, and after Connor Hind it'll be Lucas Keys, who is 5.5 seconds back, but I think we're going to see that gap drop pretty quickly as the temperature is now dropping, as that is certainly very aggressive line by the Honda. I dare say maybe a cut for that, as as I mentioned, cuts. Drivers got to be very careful here, as it's quite easy to pick up 3 cuts here and get yourself a penalty, as the McLaren now pulls over to the side, but I don't think he's letting them all through. This is going to get a bit awkward here as Johnson comes out second best, and that might actually allow Aaron Lee to try have a go into the final corner. No, Aaron's just going to sit behind him for now, but that has definitely hurt Luke Johnson. He's just lost. He's now down to 7/10 of the Porsche in front, so I don't think Luke Johnson will be too happy about that one, but at the same time, that is what racing with blue flags is like. Some you win, some you don't, and you just got to move on and keep driving.
Yeah, lost a big chunk there. And Keely's just pulling out more and more time on Josh Holmes. Like, I know just Holmes has something to look at in the mirrors, and it may be affecting how we drive. You tend to sometimes drive better when you got nothing in the mirrors, or at least I do. But yeah, Keely's pulling out even more time, even laps. I don't know if it's just tires or different strategies. I wonder, and I really shouldn't second guess when it comes to these Euro series, because I usually get it very wrong. Seeing here, I have to say, Connor Hind in the Honda, he's very aggressive through the corners, but he's just about there on the behind that their Audi as well. He's on the back of the McLaren. Got 614 yellowed. I believe that is adaptive apex rating of Mitch Kemp and D Clark. They're still yellowed at the track and just waiting for all those cars to go through. Play it nice and safe. But you feel like it's going to be it's a long fuse with these guys, I have to say, in this from P2 to P6. It's all about to kick off. And speaking of kicking off, Jaden Rondinella, along with Brady Adderton, Grady up the inside, surely going to be done for the Porsche, especially with the traction it can get on the exit. It just absolutely romps away, despite the GTR's turbos out of the hairpins as well. Definitely, I think, the quickest car through the hairpins, the Porsche.
Yep, definitely on something there. Yeah, so Rondinella hopefully he can follow Brady after this, because he has dropped a fair few positions from where he was before, and I can't exactly remember who's driving with Brady, but he's currently sitting in P3 for silver, which is a pretty good effort. Oh yeah, it's Scott Rushford in the car with Brady, so Brady, I think, the faster driver in that duo, so he's going to have to make up a little bit of time for the second driver to take. I
don't know. Have you seen Scott Rothschild on a wet Kyalami race?
Is this wet Kyalami?
I don't know. It could be.
Yeah, true. I guess it is England. It could start raining at any moment. But
yeah, we just get drizzle. We don't get the full rainstorm, frankly.
True. Yeah. Rondinella just kind of following Adderton. As Mark Bushell now under threat from Damiano Thurcolini, heading onto the back straight through Coppice, wide from Thurcolini, which is going to hurt his run.
Had a big slide.
Yeah, it's going to hurt his run down to the chicane, but a good chicane can definitely make quite a bit of time, as Thurcolini does cut quite a bit and gets a decent run. Oh, I think something just happened at the hairpin.
Yeah, just up ahead of this pack. That was Dylan McDowd. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, that was a yellow at the hairpin. And dare say, if there's yellows at the hairpin, it's usually because of a bit of fender to benders.
Oh, sorry, yeah, something. Oh, wow. Talking of fender benders, just had a bit of contact there between Mark Bushell and Damiano, but yeah.
Bit of rubber banding still.
Yeah, and the timing board just then was not having any of it, so bit of weirdness going on. But anyway, Thurcolini tucks in behind Bushell. He's going to try to get this move done fairly quick, I'd imagine. But two Porsches, same car. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for Damiano, as he carries a lot more speed into that old hairpin down the bottom of the hill. Quite a scary corner, especially when you're close behind someone. So yeah, he's going to hold his position right now, and I dare say he'll wait for an overtaking opportunity at the Melbourne hairpin again. Damiano having been fairly strong over that chicane coming into the final corner. But yeah,
we're seeing quite a few little errors here and there, but not enough to really make too much of a big difference for most of the drivers. Obviously having a few moments here and there between the two, but quite a bit of a bump there for Fercolini. He's trying to look up the inside, trying to distract Bushell, but Bushell's having none of it, and they both meet the apex in formation. But we're seeing a few little errors here and there. And I have to say, you know, it's quite a... it's not the worst track on tires, but I think because it's, particularly as you go down the hill down to the old hairpin, and there's a lot of high to mid-speed corners which are not really cambered and are kind of relying on your aero to do a lot of things, and you really need the rear tires under you here at this track. We're seeing a few of the GTRs starting to stumble a bit, especially with their it's been as I'm seeing here now as a GT for drive. Yep. And Dylan King unfortunately pile drives into the Porsche of Dylan McDowd, and we're seeing a penalty as well.
Dylan on Dylan.
Sent. Yep, Dylan on Dylan, and unfortunately not the Schwarzenegger spin-off that you're looking for. But these two still going at it, both kind of compromising each other a little bit, and then that's quite a send from Fercolini, but he meets the apex and it's fairly alongside, and he's going to reach on side. A little bit of a door banging from each, but I think that was quite fair, frankly. That was a good move there from Fercolini. He did look quite scary from this angle though.
Yeah, bit of an unorthodox spot, but if you've got the run, you might as well go for it. As Fercolini's runs through this chicane seem to be a lot more aggressive. He's cutting quite a lot of it. I'm not sure if he's taking cuts for any of them, but yeah. Dylan King now serving his drive through, so he's going to drop through. He's going to drop down quite a few spots. As Lucas Keys is now on the back of Connor Hind and that group in the front, so that's going to be fairly interesting to watch, because that Honda is not particularly the fastest car on the straights, and the GTR is quite the opposite. I think the Honda, oh wow, that is, you guys didn't see it because it was just before we cut, but Connor Hind absolutely cut that apex of I forgot the name, but the corner that goes onto this back straight, just to try get as good as of a run as he can, and try to escape from that GTR. Oh wow. Lucas Keys just having a bit of a moment there, but I gather he'll catch up to the back of this group fairly quickly again. But yeah, the Honda, I think it's actually the slowest GT3 on the straights, so yeah, Connor Hind possibly in trouble here with that big green GTR behind him.
Yeah, definitely trouble. We've seen Connor Hind, he does clatter the inside curve of Copy's corner quite a lot. He kind of prefers that line. Did get a mega run through the chicane, but no change in positions for anyone so far. Luke is gonna be, I'm sure, maybe unsettling the deck of these guys so far, but we have seen Josh Holmes now pull away from Mitch Hobbs as well, now up to a 2-second gap, so that's really start to flip on its head as well. Maybe a small error here or there. We'll just see what the Honda can do against the GTR. Thankfully here, there's not really any long straights long enough to make too much of a difference when it comes down to the straights. It's, you know, they kind of close the gaps, but it's, you know, little bits can make the difference here and there. We'll see other runs here. Yeah, he loves two wheels on the grass. There's Connor Hind, and he definitely won't be getting cuts for it because he's been doing it all race. He's under threat now from Lucas.
He's coming.
And he's gone up the inside, and he's easily let them go. He saw he went up the inside, and Connor braked early, didn't contest that one. There's no point going side by side, especially if you're on the outside into the chicane.
Yeah, so Connor taking a very aggressive line. I was playing AMS2 the other day, and if you go anywhere near that grass, you instantly get a cut. So ACC a bit more lenient, obviously. Is that livery a default livery in the game? Because it does, I do recognize it, but it does look very good. The Audi Rockets Evolved livery. It does have OOR branding on it, so I assume they've done some work to it, but yeah, as Mitch Hobbs...
There is a similar one in game.
Yeah, I thought so. Mitch Hobbs just dipping those left wheels onto the dirt on the exit of turn 1, which is going to let this gaggle of 4 cars kind of close up to him a bit more. As now Lucas has the Audi of Aaron Lee in his sights as his next target. But again, unless these guys let him through like we saw with that Honda, which just kind of got eaten alive on the straight. I don't know if they'll do the same. They'll give Lucas the same courtesy, or if they'll make him work a bit harder for it, as we get a nice shot of them all filing through. Oh, that is a BMW posted up on the outside. That is car number 5, I believe. I'm not sure exactly who is in that car at the moment, but that would have been quite scary for the guys coming through Coppice, because that is not really what you'd expect to be seeing.
Yeah, absolutely, and not ideal, but they've ventured on so far, and yeah, the gap's still kind of extending there between the Josh Holmes and Mitch Hobbs as well. A little bit wide there from Aaron Lee. He might be just ahead enough from the GTR. It is kind of tricky to put himself in the position of put ourselves in the position of Connor Hind on the previous lap when Lucas got him, because when it comes down to the hairpin, to the chicane down from Starkey Straight, if you defend the inside, you just compromise your whole run through the corner, and if you don't, then someone goes up the inside. So it's a little bit damned if you do, damned if you don't, going full into the chicane. The
GTR's right there.
The Audi, but not close enough to really make a move into McLean's. And good lines here from Aaron, but a little bit square on the exit, starting to break a little bit away from McLaren up ahead. Run through Coppice, we'll see the rally cross of Honda again. But a good run here from the Audi driver. Definitely not going to see the repeat of the move that Lucas did into this 2 laps ago. Quite a good track, I have to say, for the Audi as well. It does support a lot of good cars, which can rotate well, especially through these hairpins as well. But a fairly balanced car as well for the Audi.
You did mention the rear tyres being a main factor, as we see some dirt being pulled up in the front. Maybe the Porsche's obviously quite known for being heavy on its rear tyres, starting to burn them up and losing a bit of time to that Aston in front, as Lucas still kind of stuck behind the Audi of Aaron Lee as the blue flag moves out the way, and they head down the hill to the Kramer curves. Again, main spot for Lucas probably here going to be the hairpins of Melbourne hairpin, or the back straight if he can get a good enough run, but that GTR just looks so strong through this middle sector as well, so obviously the weight of that car not being too much of an issue.
Yeah, especially coming up Starkey's going, it is quite a noticeable incline. It's easy to miss, and the GTR definitely pull. Like, the Audi doesn't really have the torque, nowhere near the torque of the GTR. A slide for Lucas as well, not going to help his run through Coppice. I'm going to keep the Audi as well. The Audi is pretty much all about keeping the minimum speed as high as possible, letting the aero do the work and keeping the balance through the corner as consistent, because you really don't have a lot of torque in the 5.2 litre V10 to set you alight out the corners. You've got to carry all the speed. Quite a bit of a V from Aaron Lee on the Melbourne hairpin, and touching a little bit, getting a little bit back closer to Luke Johnson as well in the renowned McLaren. And he wants to stay closer to him and stay away from the GTR. He's, I think this has been the best defense or non-defense from anyone against Lucas Keys, I have to say. It doesn't really range in on the end of the straight, so you can already see. But through the middle of the parts of the corners, you can see the Audi gets away, but only briefly as the GTR closes in closer, ever so closer. High beams on, old hairpin. Let's see how both of these guys do. Turn it in nicely. Good run from the Audi. Both of them keeping them both on the AstroTurf as well. No dips in the grass, not affecting the entry. But coming now into McLean's as well, and yeah, unfortunately the Audi can't really go much further because he's right on the back of the McLaren as well when it comes to the corners. He's just trying to get away from the GTR. Good exit through Coppice as well, and I think that's where he's getting these really good runs through Coppice, so he's not on the fret coming down to the chicane. I say that it gets closer, but it's not going to be close enough, and it's all going to kick off shortly soon, isn't it?
Yeah, Hobbsy, I think, is acting like
Was
a
a bit
little
of
bit
a
of a cork. Yeah, Lucas has got a run here. He's going to try and make a move down the inside of the Audi. Audi pretty good on the brakes. Oh, Luke Johnson also having a bit of a bad run, and Lucas actually almost up. And there's a
Lap
blue
car.
flag there as well. This is all kicking off, as you said. The Audi's actually going to hold his line into the... Oh, Lucas is wide. The rear's coming around, and he's actually lost the position and under threat from the Honda now as well, although obviously once those GTR turbos get going, that thing is off. GTR going to look for a move into turn 1. They're going to run side by side. Yeah, the Audi's maintaining the speed. This is going to be... It's okay. The GTR hasn't quite got the run.
He backed out. He backed out. He played it safe.
There's also, I seen a yellow flag at the final corner.
599.
Yeah, so something's also gone on there. As now we're heading into real lap car territory with lots of lap cars. Ooh. This is making me a bit concerned. Oh, okay.
Well, that's pretty good, actually. Got over to the outside of the line. Didn't compromise. He compromised the Honda a little bit, but I think that's as best he can do out of all that.
Yeah, that was definitely... It could have been worse. So, yeah, Lucas just having a bit of an error down into that final corner, entering a bit wide and getting on that off-camber side of the circuit and just the rear end coming around. So he's unfortunately lost the ground that he just made up. But that was definitely getting very interesting there with the blue flag car, and Luke Johnson as Aaron Lee's going to go for a very aggressive move. This might actually allow Lucas to get back past Johnson, although he's going to be on the bad side of the track as they come into the final corner. And that was a very aggressive move from Aaron Lee, as Lucas now gets his nose down the inside of the McLaren, tells him see you later, and just drives past. So they've switched positions, the McLaren, but we're back to station with the Audi and the GTR. So Lucas still kind of stuck behind Aaron Lee. Yeah, so Lucas just making up that position there. I kind of saw that coming once Aaron won for that very aggressive move. But it was very aggressive, also very clean. So well done to Aaron for keeping it that way.
I believe they are rockets of old teammates as well, Luke Johnson and Aaron Lee. So may have been a bit more polite than normal. To see Gibbo here ahead, and unfortunately just snagged there by Brady Adderton in the Porsche, and pink BMW and the lap car just has to kind of wait for a second, and a 15-second penalty there for Brady Adderton. It was very unfortunate. It's been quite a good run until then. It's just a tiniest little snag, but ACC physics does its thing as usual. But yeah, I think Luke Johnson, if he wanted to be, I'm surprised he kind of went over to the racing line and took the position, kind of allowed Lucas to kind of just send it up into the hairpin of Goddard's, as they're now closing on Mitch Hobbs as well. So we are seeing like some performance difference between these guys later into the stint, 45 minutes into this stint pretty much. And it'll be interesting to see what these guys do when it comes to strategy.
Yeah, definitely 100%. Obviously, the Porsche capable of going much longer than some of the cars around it. I'm not sure what the GTR's fuel tank is for this track, because it has got a bigger tank for some other tracks. But yeah, as we saw as well, that speed difference between Brady and the Mustang through that final corner, I mean, the Porsche just so much more nimble, is just carrying so much more speed and just can't quite react to that Ford going a little bit offline and slow and just tags the back of him. But yeah, the Porsche in front of Mitch Hobbs kind of keeping the gap to Josh Holmes, but at the same time, the guys behind him seem to be going fairly quick as well. So Lucas with those high beams on, Josh Holmes is wide. Oh, sorry, Mitch Hobbs is wide. And this is potentially going to allow Aaron Lee, who the Audi doesn't have too bad of a top end, to possibly set up something going into the Melbourne hairpin, and Lucas Keys behind, who was very close and in that GTR, but with the full slipstream from Hobbs, Aaron Lee is going to be okay on this straight. But he's got a bounce and a bad run. That has just left the door wide open for Lucas to just drive through and go for the move. Or Luke Johnson's looking for something, possibly trying to make best use out of Aaron Lee being slow from the Lucas overtake, but not able to do anything. And now Lucas is set free on the back of Mitch Hobbs, who's gone a little bit deep into the final corner, manages to maintain the speed though. And Lucas making his way through these guys, not instantly, but also not too slow. So he's definitely doing well here to make his way through these traffic, because we got to remember, obviously, these guys are all pros, very fast drivers. So yeah, Lucas basically pushing the Porsche through sector 1 right on the bumper, showing us that GTR can be nimble when it wants to. He's probably got some esports set up on there, which makes it turn like crazy to be able to keep up with the Porsche in these more twisty sections. And I dare say this Porsche is definitely not looking good once they come down onto the back straights, because that GTR is just gonna put the foot down and just go.
Yep, it's definitely going to be a factor, but the Porsche does have the traction. But does he still have the traction with the tyres in its current state? We shall see. But definitely Audi put up his best defense, and obviously Aaron Lee knows the GTR very well, as he has frequented it lately in Enduros and sprint seasons, I believe. Got a lapped BMW.
Move from
Luke Johnson right up the inside, return serve. Mitch Hobbs had a bit of a check-up too, as well, as they all kind of concerted effect, and it looks like Luke Johnson is going to be ahead of the Audi as well.
That could have gone definitely south with that blue flag car right there, kind of blocking Lucas and letting Johnson get through on Aaron Lee, as Lucas is right on the back of this Porsche going into turn 1. So yeah, blue flags starting to throw a bit of spanners in this battle. I don't think they're going to catch the main sort of pack yet for quite a while, but yeah, the odd blue flag definitely just making things interesting here.
Yeah, absolutely. They have, I think they're clear for quite a while after this one. Actually, I say that, no, there's 1-2-1 still up ahead. So when you think you've done them all, there's always one more, and it is a very short lap, as we mentioned earlier in the race. And the Aaron Lee kind of, you know, when you have a little bit of move like that, it really kind of upsets your rear, and he's kind of back to where things were, minus Lucas Keys being ahead of.
That's a good exit
everyone.
From Lucas.
Very good, and he's gonna, and yeah, Mitch Hobbs got out of that one. You can see, I know the GTR's quick against the Porsche, but not that quick. Just completely cleared him. We've seen that from a few drivers. They kind of know their battles that they want to fight, and I know Lucas Keys is unfortunately not really in it. 21 seconds, I believe, is the gap between Josh Holmes and Chris Cooley. So, yeah, I don't know. You'd think maybe pace might be, strategy might be an factor, but I think unfortunately some of the pace on these guys is just so beyond some of even our very quickest drivers, have to say.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Holmes, Mitch Hobbs, Luke Johnson, Aaron Lee, all very quick guys. I mean, they're definitely know what they're doing. So to just pull away from them like they're standing still is pretty insane. Obviously, not much rust from Cooley. As I said before, he's obviously put a bit of practice in for those sort of times, lap after lap. But yeah, we'll see how his teammate can get on. And there's a few penalties to be served through the field in the first round of pit stops, which I assume will be in the next sort of 20 minutes or so. Or big moment from Lucas there, just kind of steps the rear out, but manages to obviously keep it under control, because he's pretty good at catching slides, obviously driving the GTI. He's got lots of practice doing that, so he's now going to get after Josh Holmes, and I dare say Josh Holmes is probably going to do the same as what we saw before, where if Lucas gets a run, he's probably just going to let him go, because Josh Holmes is in a pretty good position here with all that fighting going on behind him. With those cars, he's built a bit of a gap.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I'm not sure he's going to be able to get too far. It definitely depends on how much he fights with Lucas as well. He's got a gap for now. We shall see if it stays. And we'll see Lucas. I will say, quite surprised to see Luke Johnson pull the same move back on his, I believe, Enduro teammate Aaron Lee like that. And the fact that they both did see them coming as well. And unfortunately, Mr. Hine has really kind of had no fun to really have in all this. He's kind of been on his lonesome. But we have seen, obviously, Brady Ellerton just going across some of the penalties with 15 seconds at the service stop. Chris Atkins as well. I'm not too sure if we caught that one for Chris Atkins, whether it was a separate incident. I know they had one earlier, but I'll have to rely on others for that one. Gibbo still in P12 behind Dylan McDowell. So a couple of cars that had moments. Rondinello, McDowell's and Gibbo Obviously, Fercolini had a moment at the start. They've all had moments, but they're all still going so strong somewhat. Carl Johnson kind of the next car behind this lot as well, 15 seconds behind, and a further 9 seconds behind him is Adderton as well. So it's definitely spread out a lot. It is definitely quite a track it does spread the field out after a while, with the exception of obviously a nice clump like these guys.
Yeah, I think the first pen for Atkins was a rejoin drive through, and the second one was a 15 for a collision. So I don't think we saw either of them, but they obviously happened as there's penalties out for them. So yeah, Hobbsy just still leading this sort of group of 4 cars. I dare say with the sort of pace, they're going to stay pretty close to each other for the whole race, which should make it pretty interesting as we come into the closing stages of this race. As we've discussed previously, fairly hard to overtake here, so they're all just following line astern, unless your name is Lucas Keys, and then you just drive past people like you've got an additional 100 horsepower. Now on the back of Josh Holmes, who I assume is going to let Lucas through, as Lucas just forces the move. So much just difference in pace coming through that corner. He's able to just stick the nose up and just get the move done way earlier than what we expected. Although Josh Holmes not quite going out so easy, making sure he gets a good exit. He's just going to tuck into that GTR slipstream and see if this GTR can catch. I mean, he's not going to, I highly doubt he's going to catch Cooley by the end of the stint, but it's looking pretty good for Lucas Keys and Jamie Conboy. This is, I mean, last to first in, well, not quite first, but de facto first, I guess, in the first stint is pretty incredible.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that was well, it's sad to see that move happened the way it did, because I think either Josh Holmes maybe braked a little bit earlier than a little bit early for Lucas Keys' liking. He kind of just sent the nose in there and took over the position. But yeah, Luke Johnson has seen the first of our front runners boxing quite, I have to say, a little bit early. Didn't really go to the hour, whether it's planned or unplanned. But we're seeing a few stops now as well. You know, about 53 minutes into the race, but that's our first top leader kind of boxing already for the 141 McLaren. You should see what other people's can produce.
Johnson maybe just trying to get out of the train, possibly. That's my only explanation for that. Trying to get an undercut or just do something different so he's not stuck up behind other people.
Yeah, definitely a valid strategy. Obviously couldn't really, you have to make the strategy kind of use the fuel if you put it in. You don't want to waste any time. But Chris Keeley is still going strong. Best of a 26.5. Basically it's 26.6, but last lap was a 27.0. So the fuel tanks are getting drained, so they're finding a little bit more time starting to come back in it, trying to counteract the tire wearing down. Well, this is a problem with these fast guys. They're so fast, but because they're so fast, because they're smooth, and they don't really take a lot out of the tires either. It's just a double whammy for us normies, mere mortals, sadly. And it is quite frustrating to watch, but never mind. We got Lucas Keys in the box already, so as well, an early stopper as well.
Maybe the GTR does have a small tank here. I'm not sure. Someone familiar with the GTR is going to have to inform us in chat what the fuel tank size is here. But yeah.
We do have 2 other GTRs still, so...
Yeah, that is also very true. Maybe Lucas went for a slightly less fuel strategy on that first stint to try carve through the field, although in saying that, someone like him probably doesn't need much of a fuel offset to be able to overtake. As
he short stopped it. He was barely stopped. He's already going again. We could see on other camera angles, but Lucas is already going, so that was definitely a short fuel stop. So I wonder if he's just trying to maybe serve his minimum time before handing the car over.
Also entirely possible, as now we have Jamie Conboy in the GTR. I hope I see some good slides from JC as usual in the GTR. So let's put them down to P11 from P2. Obviously, rest of the grid yet to pit. I suspect maybe Hobbsy or some of the other cars maybe going to try something alternate, possibly with the fuel economy of that Porsche as Thurcolini now comes in. Although maybe they have in their testing found that the best way to just drive this race is full speed the entire time, no fuel saving or anything. So yeah, I guess we'll have to just wait and see as the race closes whether these gaps stay fairly similar.
Yeah, I find it very hard to figure out a strategy if I'm not actually in the race itself, and it's all very confusing from up here, but that's the way things are. Either way, I don't think there's any threat of any of the fuel tanks not being big enough. I'm pretty sure every car can at least do an hour on every circuit, unless you're, I don't know, got a fuel leak, or to say the least, or maybe you didn't chip in for fuel money. We're seeing now Aaron Lee kind of closing in. He doesn't have the McLaren between him and Mitch Hobbs still anymore, having Luke Johnson done his stop, so maybe he can undo that. We did see very good pace from Aaron Lee, and I have to say, I feel like we've watched a lot of cars so far, but this one, in terms of body language from the car, this one's had arguably the least amount of movement.
Oh, as he comes into the pits. Yep. But, I have seen some decent moments from this Audi on exit especially, but Aaron Lee keeping it well under control. Go on, Cam, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say, because we saw a lot of cars kind of flounder under when Lucas Keys was behind, but this car, as I say, Aaron was very planted on most of his runs. Obviously, he did have a mistake, which did lead to him losing the position. But considering, how loose and kind of tailored the Audi can be, it looks pretty stable out there.
Definitely keeping that Audi under check right now. He's in the box for a decent amount of time, so obviously probably refueling the car fully and getting ready to go again as we see Luke Johnson on the back.
I'm not sure that was 30 seconds.
Yeah, okay. Maybe just fuel or something else, but I don't have my stopwatch on me, so I can't time it. As you can also see Sean Bubb now. Sorry, I think that. Oh no, who is that in that McLaren? I don't think that's Johnson. It is Bubb now. Yes, Bubb now in the McLaren behind Mark Bushell in the Porsche. This is for position, although Mark Bushell has not pitted yet. So Noski is moving out the. He's moving out the way for Chris Cooley. Okay, who's I think still in that car, judging by how quickly he just drove through those guys. As Mark Bushell's gonna have to move out the way as well, although he's looking like he's trying to do it a bit more tactically so he doesn't lose as much time to Noski, who may have a run here. No, not quite. He's probably going to look for something at the Melbourne hairpin after this corner. If he gets a decent run, which he looks like he's got, he's going to start moving along to the right. Mark Bushell, I think, is gonna. No, he actually hasn't got the run on the Porsche, which is pretty interesting. Bushell holding out Noski quite badly here. As I say, no, okay, the camera's just a bit deceptive, but yeah, these guys having a battle for position, even though it's not really for position.
Yeah, and ultimately, the McLaren has lost out to the Audi of Steven Ty, so that is a overcut for the 111 Audi. So that is another driver change. This one from Aaron Lee to Steven Ty, and pretty much all the drivers that we have seen come into the box have changed over, with the exception of, I believe, Josh Holmes in the 149 Aston Martin. So Jamie Conboy replacing Lucas Keys in the green GTR, and Sean Bubb now replacing, I believe, Luke Johnson in the Renault McLaren, still behind Mark Bushell right now. I don't think, I think this was also, actually we're not too sure on this, whether this car actually probably changed, but yeah, they would have changed tyres. If they changed driver, they're changing tyres, because they can be done at the same time, and they take the same amount of time as well.
A good bit of info there. Obviously useful to know with the more endurance racing side of this game compared to sprints, where it's just full speed, as Jaden Rondinella now comes into the pits from I can't remember exactly where he was when he pitted. I don't know if he's dropped a spot yet or but yeah, pitting from P7. It's going to drop him down a fair way, and there has been some other changes. So Josh McLaughlin has gotten the 911 car from Damiano Thurcolini before, as we pass Rondinella in the pits right now, going down the main straight. So Mark Bushell's still yet to pit, possibly doing a fuel saving strategy, but Sean Bubb now really struggling to get past.
Yeah, I have to correct myself. Obviously, the Audi would have changed tyres as well, because obviously they changed drivers, they would have changed tyres. I mean, maybe not, but why wouldn't you? Definitely didn't. No one looked like they were out there like they had tyres as spares with the few errors and slides we were seeing. But yeah, this is going to be frustrating, surely, for Sean Bubb now. Car 444. Hopkinson in the Nissan GTR and P22 gets a 5-second penalty, so I might have missed that. It might have been a 10-second. It might quickly change.
No, it was a 5, which is quite rare, I think, actually.
Quite a misdemeanor, I have to say. I do apologise, I didn't catch that one just in time. We're seeing a few drivers still going out there who we haven't had the Honda 695 box, nor the 7 of Mitch Hobbs in the Porsche. Obviously Keeley, the leader, has a box. Carl Johnson still going long in the GTR, the 991. Brady Adderton as well, Dylan McDowd, Gibbo, and then yeah, our highest runner that has boxed is Josh Holmes in the 149 Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Well, so far, these guys, Mitch Hobbs, we did see him kind of struggling, like a little bit on the fret before, but seems to be still going. This could pay dividends later.
I would expect that Ford to be starting to run dry soon. In the next sort of 3 to 4 laps, he would have to come in. I think the Ford does use up its fuel quite quickly. It's not the worst, but it's also definitely not the best. So I suspect Gibbo will be in fairly soon. But Mitch Hobbs continuing to lap. But unfortunately, we can't see the fuel map or anything, so it's kind of hard to see exactly what they're doing. But yeah, the Porsche is pretty economical on its fuel, and I think so is the Honda. I might be wrong. So Porsche's on map 2. I think that's the fuel saving map for the Porsche. Is it?
It is one of, like, most, put it this way, the peak maps for fuel in the Porsche. I trust this is, I think this is still the case with the new one. But the highest, the quali power basically doesn't give you much more power than the normal. So you can just run in the normal maps, which is what he's in now. He's in normal power consumption, which is maps 1 to 4, 5 to 8 are quali power, but you save that more fuel, and you basically pretty much have the same. Put it this way, with the Porsche, you're so draggy at the top end, the top speed, you don't gain anything by running quali power.
Right, okay.
Next to nothing, pretty much.
Useful to know. As Chris Cooley still going out in the lead as well, has not pitted yet, so maintaining his gigantic lead, although his time's starting to drop now due to his tyre wear. Last lap was a 27 flat, which is definitely a bit off his fastest pace that he was running earlier. And Lucas Keys. Wait, shouldn't Lucas or Jamie Conboy be past Holmes? Because he got the move. Lucas got the move done on.
Well, they changed drivers, so there's at least 30 seconds. But I think Josh Holmes has actually done a splash dash.
Right. Okay. Yep. I thought I noticed something that wasn't quite right there. So, yeah, possibly a difference in stints here between the GTR and the Aston Martin who's in front of them. Although the timing tell, oh, it's plus, yeah, right, +6 to each other. So yeah, 7-second gap back to Convoy now.
Yep. And the Aston did box, I think, quite a few laps later, and nothing to take away from Jamie Convoy. I know he's already a bit touchy with me, but yeah, I'm not sure he has the red hot pace of Lucas Keys, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, well, the gaps have opened up a decent bit now. The only one I can see that's fairly close is Dylan McDowell and Callum Gibbons. Gibbo's just under a second behind. As there's lots of blue flags now being waved for this group here. As Chris Cooley makes his way through this group, Convoy now gets out the way of Cooley. So does the pool. Okay, that could have been a bit interesting there, as I think that's Ankin moving out the way as well for the Ferrari. And in front, I believe that's Dylan King, or at least his car. I'm not sure if they did a driver swap, who Cooley is going to get through on pretty easily. And he should also be blue flagged for this GTR, I think, maybe. I can't really. Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Although he's not.
Convoy was stuck behind these two for hard. These, like the Porsche and the Aston, really weren't letting Convoy through at all. He had to take the leader.
Oh my gosh!
On. And that's very silly, I have to say. And yeah, I'm think that one's going to be in the Stewart's box.
Yeah, I totally agree. If I was Convoy, I would not be too happy about that, considering King is blue flagged, and that is not really something you should be doing as a blue flag. But anyway, we move on.
And he's gone wide.
Yeah, yeah. So now the Porsche of Vanken is going to try and make a move. I don't know if those guys are also, I'm not sure about the positions behind because we're looking at different cars, but I did see blue flags being waved, but it's really hard to tell.
Fowry and Spenceley. So they're both changed drivers, both of those cars.
Right, okay. And then where's the Porsche gone?
Lost a port. I think he's got ahead. I think the Fowry went so wide he kind of lost so much time. There it is. It's just gone over the hill.
Ah, okay.
There it is.
Yeah, just see the flash of green.
And I hope he's familiar with blue flags because he's got another one right now. Hate to be throwing you under the irons, but you kind of stood on them yourself.
Yeah, he does let Johnson through here. Oh wow, the GTR's also ripping him behind. I think that is Hopkinson in the GTR behind, so now there is a battle for position on, so he is allowed to defend.
Fight this one, not that one over there.
Yeah. I think his teammate might be telling him that on the team speak right now. But as we head down into the crane and curves, Aston in front of GTR, like before, GTR might wait for a better opportunity. As the Aston is probably going to hold his position fairly easily through this first and second sector. Maybe if he gets a bad run over the chicane, Hopkinson can try look for a move. Or one wheel on the grass there. I don't think that's quite the line, but it didn't seem to hurt him too much as we come through Coppice. Now, GTR doesn't quite have a run from what we can see, so he's going to have to wait until the hairpins. Aston obviously still decent on the straights, but possibly an invoice coming for Fowry for ignoring blue flags on the previous lap.
Yeah, we'll see if that one's been flagged or the ones that tend to be, let's say, caught on string tend to get looked at automatically, but we shall see on that one. But we live and we learn, hopefully, and hopefully not much further of that car as well. And going through, still haven't had a few cars have yet to box. Adderton, Johnson, Dowell, Obsy, yep, Connor Hines still going strong. So
McDowell and the leader, of course, Chris Cooley in the 777
car. Yes.
Yeah, Pidgey Racing Ferrari. Also, Ferrari quite economical on its fuel. So, the fact he's still out there, and he's done that, what is it now, probably 30-second gap or something between the car behind him is pretty incredible. So obviously Chris Cooley's put in a lot of practice as Mitch Hobbs has a bit of a slide on the exit.
316.
Yep, 316 Adderton. I think that was after the chicane. So something's happened there.
That's
but yeah, the Honda
to get Honda at a moment.
Yeah, Honda right on the back of Mitch Hobbs. I guess we'll see a battle of some of the slowest cars on the straights here as we get on the straight, and hopefully we can grab a replay of what happened to Adderton back there, because that was a bit strange. But yeah, it's Hind just completely cutting that inside line must be the most efficient way to do it in the Honda, but can't say I'd be brave enough to do it myself. As we head down into the chicane, Hind is close, but not quite good enough of a drive off the chicane. The Honda quite good out of corners. As you said, struggles on straights. Good on the brakes, and Hobbsy's a little bit wide there, but not enough for Hind to try and make a move. And Porsche traction, obviously, just... Oh yeah, I've just caught what's happened to Adderton in the corner of my eye, but yeah, Hobbsy still on the back. Yes, yeah, sorry. Well, we knew he was slow. We knew there was a yellow flag for some
reason. Who knew
what
could have happened? An incident?
Yeah, I'm going to guess he's popped a wheel on the grass on the exit. Oh, no, okay. It's already gone on him before he's even got to the grass on the exit, and he's doing the Lightning McQueen, turn left to go right, line through there, gets it turned around and gets going again. I'm not sure if he lost, we would have lost the position to McDowell, I think, but not anyone else, which is quite lucky considering that size of an off. He could have easily gone into the wall or something else.
Yeah, it looks like he just caught the bump, and the rear unfortunately just kind of compounded a little bit, and quite a late moment for it to go. But unfortunately the case wouldn't have happened in the front engine car, just saying. But it did well to catch it initially, but unfortunately with that much momentum, it was on the low friction of the grass. It was just kind of slowly going. He actually ended up close. By the time he stopped, he ended up closer to Melbourne Hairpin than he did to the chicane, which is quite impressive.
Yeah, I've also noticed the 599 of Gibbo has pitted now, and it's Jacob Weatherburn in the car, and Dylan McDowell is also pitting. But yeah, Hobbsy, Hind and Cooley still going strong, which is pretty impressive. And obviously Mike Crick now in the 23 Nissan GTR, who was piloted by piloted by Jaden Rondinella, and now Connor Hind is also in the pits, so probably out of fuel at this point, I would assume, as we get to look at that. I bet Cricky's just loving this. He's got the OG Skyline livery in the Skyline. Everything's this. If you guys don't know Cricky, he's everything Skyline. He just absolutely loves the thing. So yeah, I bet he's really enjoying driving it in that livery right now.
Yes, indeed. I think he's got to run out of retro throwbacks to do at this rate, frankly. I think he's done most of them. He'll find some obscure JGTC one to do, I imagine, next. But yeah, sadly didn't do much racing after the R32 as a road car chassis, to be fair. There's a few around. And, sadly, a GT3 program is well and truly dead as a... Nissan don't want to do any motorsports at all. Well, actually, with the exception of Super GT. Probably going to turn Nismo into quite a late dive, but it's up number 5. But that is on a lap car as well, so it's quite assertive to say the least.
Yeah, there was a bit of a wiggle going on into the brake zone. GTR ABS, not too happy. One of the older cars, obviously, with older electronics, so it's not quite as forgiving as some of the newer cars. He's got Jacob Weatherburn in front of him now to head after. That also very nice livery on that Pixel Races cars. As Adderton is now in the pits, so he's going to have to serve that 15 seconds on top of his current penalty that he has. And Carl Johnson also in the pits from P3. Wait, why is Carl Johnson in front of Connor Hind? Is that a scoreboard thing, or?
Connor's pitted.
Oh, okay, right. So Connor. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yep. That just part completely left me. So Carl Johnson now in the pits. I forgot who his second driver was, but they'll come out. I think a decent way behind due to how close the gaps are.
Michael Pickford, Picky, and Keeley also coming into the box. So, let alone Hazard, he needs fuel. Can't run out there indefinitely. We found a limitation for Keeley.
Yeah.
As he can Flintstone power his way to the finish line.
Yeah, quite a few cars in now. Chris Wren, Neil Haynes, Mark Bushell, obviously Killeen.
He still hasn't moved yet.
Who hasn't moved? Sorry.
That's the black and white GTR, and it still hasn't gotten moving, which is Carl Johnson. And the fact that Keeley's come in and left in the time, he came in after the GTR.
Oh, yeah, they all come now.
Ooh, that's quite slow. He's, playing it safe.
Oh, that's definitely somewhere to come back onto the track, as there's 4 cars all within very close proximity of each other. 5 cars. Oh, and that's Dylan McDowell's car. Oh, it's Benefield driving it. Oh my God. Johnson having a massive moment, or Pickford, sorry, having a massive moment going down the graded curves. Is this for yeah, it is. So it's position between Pickford and Benefield. Benefield in the Porsche behind. Or is he going to look for something here? No. Listen basically just has to keep it pinned and let it loose on the straights. And there's also some side-by-side action going on behind. I'm not sure if that's for position, but it's definitely some entertaining scenes here as we head down onto the back straight. Porsche's got a good run, but he's going to struggle to really get something done against the GTR, especially on a straight. He's probably just going to wait for a run. Oh, he's right on the bumper, but the GTR is going to move over and defend. The Porsche's going to switch to the inside right at the last moment. Brave, but I think he's overcooked it. Yep, he has severely overcooked that, and the GTR is just going to drive on by, I think. Unless the camera is deceiving us. Well, the Porsche's still going to have a nose alongside. Yeah, able to just brake super late, that Porsche, and just keep that car down the inside and get the position.
Yeah, kind of was very aggressive, but that's kind of the best time to attack, especially as the driver's just come out the pits. He's still trying to getting himself up to temperature, getting up to speed somewhat, and it's it's kind of when drivers are most vulnerable. You see Piggy having a few moments here and there.
Yeah,
he had a little bit of moments with the driver swap as well, because I did see that car rolling, and the car won't move. It's the driver swap hasn't completed, so it was active maybe some moments with the driver swap mechanics, which are perfect in this game, no fault at all, along with many other things. And maybe why LMU is taking so long to implement theirs, and I bet it will still be jank.
If it is possible, I do want to see that save from Pickford, because he was going pretty fully sideways in Sector 1, and I think he hit the grass as well, so definitely a lot going on at the wheel of that car as Chris Cooley comes out of the pits now. Gets the hammer down, so I think strategy-wise these guys will be doing one more stint, and then his second driver will hop in the car.
I did just notice this, Convoy's been getting 1 second behind Josh Holmes as well. Now, I do want to wager, I think Josh Holmes did just splash and dash, and he didn't actually take tyres, and I think JC does have fresh tyres, which is helping things along quite a bit. We've also got Breno Ellis in the number 7 now as well. Obviously that car ran quite late, so maybe had to take a bit more fuel than most. And did lose out to these two, but he is just there behind the white Porsche, the default livery. It'll be interesting to see how things are low. Sun starting to set a little bit. I think we're down to 20 track. And still no rain on the forecast so far. But I think we're going to be, for me and Aiden, is going to be our roughly last 10 minutes. We'll be handing over to, I believe, Tim Gubb and Sam O'Brien in the 90-minute interval.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully Gobby hasn't had too many alcoholic beverages. Yeah, he's been posting some photos in the chat of him having a few drinks, so hopefully he comes in and he's all good to go. But yeah, it is the last sort of 10 minutes for us if things all go to plan. As Josh Holmes, bit of a slide there. It's allowing Jamie Conboy to just close up ever so slightly, bring that gap down. So I'm not sure exactly what the strategy is best, but not taking tyres seems pretty brave here, because a lot of the cars seem to be not particularly enjoying their worn rubber, so that's a pretty brave strat.
I think maybe some of them are trying to do one change for the whole race, so they're getting 90 minutes out of the tyres, which would make sense, I will say, from a strategy point of view. Whether that correlates with your maximum driver time, I don't know. Oh, yeah, that's when the tyre isn't completely up to temperature and you're kind of leaning on it. Which you got in the GTR, it's got a lot of fuel. It's just the fuel tank is pretty much just in front of the front axle, and then I imagine it was completely full to the brim as well. So that's a lot of energy to put through that tire, which isn't up to temperature. And I hope he hasn't gotten a bit of graining from that as well.
I've just looked at the YouTube chat, and Scott Rochford has said that they had a DC with 1 lap to go on Brady's stint. I'm not sure if they're back in the server. I don't think I've seen them since, but that is very, very unfortunate for those guys. DCs are just the worst because there's nothing you can do about it. As, yeah, we see them just in pits right now. Just stationary.
Yeah, unfortunately, this game as well, if you disconnect as well, it's a bit... when you got the number 1 driver has to join. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but I remember it's always one of those things you have to account for with ACC and endurance racing. If only someone made sim racing titles with endurance and driver swaps all in mind.
And
that isn't a subscription service.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent question.
I don't feel like settling America's GDP.
Yeah, I totally get that, and also having to, buy DLCs to access most of the cars in the game is also a little bit frustrating.
It's been a while, but I'm already back into my ranty ways.
Don't worry, I think you are voicing the opinions of many, so I think it's okay as we go back to watching JC following Josh Holmes. Josh still holding his own pretty well. JC's been stuck here for the last few laps. Both decent cars on the straight, so the GTR won't quite find it as easy as Lucas did on some of the slower cars. But also, I don't think Josh is giving this one up, as I see JC's indicator icons are going. I don't know if they're actually going on the car.
They are. That's a JC thing.
Yeah, I've known about it, but I thought there was something in the rules against that. But anyway.
I already know the catchphrase many people are going to say after you said that. Don't worry.
Right, okay. Well, anyway, Josh Holmes, JC's hit the brakes pretty well there and is closed right up onto the back of that Aston. Now the Aston's indicators are going as well, so 2 cars with hazard lights on in a battle. Not quite something I expected to see, but anyway, they head out of the final corner onto the main straight. Also, Breno Ellis catching up to the back of that GTR, just in the background sneakily. That gap has decreased quite quickly, so Josh Holmes lapping quite slowly as both cars getting their left wheels fully on the grass. Definitely giving it their all. Oh, look at those aggressive lines. That is such a good camera angle through there. Josh Holmes still leading the way right now.
Stephen Tiny, Audi as well, not too far behind this slot as well. But Breno Ellis closing in, like you say, with these two starting to have a little bit of a fight with a few errors here and there in response. Again, I see Josh Holmes is kind of struggling with that tire underneath him. He kind of struggles with the... He doesn't really get the car on the apex like the others are. Let's put through Coppice. I think he'll be safe into the chicane unless there wants to be a kamikaze dive from JC. A good run should hopefully keep him safe to the Melbourne hairpin. That's really bad for JC as well. He's really bouncing. He's thankfully just far enough away from Breno Ellis. Breno's going to have a look to the inside to try to distract, but nothing coming of it. It keeps Josh Holmes off the hook so far, but for now it is a ticking time bomb. He kind of needs to keep his pace up as much as he can. His tires are wearing out, and he hopes those there guys it's wearing out just as much as his. But yeah, we'll see. I'm not sure how the strategy's gonna go. He's already kind of lost the time difference, but I think he can go a lot longer on fuel even than JC given his pace, because the green GTR definitely did box a lot earlier. That's providing both of these cars actually filled up their tank, their fuel to the brim. You never know. We are not privy to that information.
Definitely getting interesting though, as Stephen Ty.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. As Glenn's just letting us know about Josh's stint timer, which will run out, I think, fairly soon. In 15 minutes time, yeah. So, yeah, he will have to come in, but in that meantime, it is looking like he's going to start another train here and be the cork in the bottle.
Thing is, like, for the Aston Martin, they can get pretty much, they don't have to put another driver in, whereas Lucas, I think, will have to go back in the GTR, I want to say. Actually, no, yeah, they boxed before the hour, so Lucas will have to go in because JC can't go to the end. He would have to do 2 hours and 5 minutes, which is way beyond the max driving time anyway. Maybe JC is doing the just short and mid-stint, and basically, I want to say Lucas is probably doing the bookends.
Yeah, I mean, this car basically had the lead before the pit cycle started, but obviously the Aston maybe trying to run a different stint, although doing very well on, I mean, these tyres are what, 1.5 hours old? Like, that is pretty insane. If they hadn't swapped, that is well done to Josh Holmes for driving it on what is essentially rims, I would guess at this point, because yeah, tyre wear here, especially on that left side, is nothing to scoff at. So yeah, well done to the Aston driver for keeping it nice and in check, as we see the Audi and the Porsche in the background just trying to make up that gap. It's ebbing and flowing a little bit. The Audi was catching seriously a few minutes ago, but it's now kind of dropped back a little bit, and same with the Porsche, as they have blue flag traffic now of car 78. That's Pete Viney. Yeah, to navigate as they come up. However, Pete Viney is quite an experienced driver, so I think he's going to get out of the way nice and fairly to these guys.
Yep. JC does get closer, but the Aston does have some decent power underneath it as well. And this is not going to be the best place for Josh Holmes coming into this first sector, and actually, yeah, he does a good job. He completely backs out of it, so he'll let them and Breno Ellis go, and probably slot in and stay ahead of the Audi until he needs to. Going a run through the old hairpin, a little wiggle on the Aston, but he gets away with it. A little dip on the grass, but it's okay when you carry the momentum he is doing into McLean's. Not able to carry the entry speed, really closes up a little bit too much, and he did kind of cut the inside curve, get a little bit of a hop, but didn't affect him too much. A late apex, he does like that later apex, but he actually is able to get a good the power down pretty well. It's one of the few cars that seem to be able to do it. There's the Aston Martin, and now through the decisive chicane. What's it gonna be? It's a good run. He seems to be getting always good runs from Josh Holmes, putting all his experience there. Jamie Conboy was kind of, that's one of the unfortunate thing, if you're too close to the car ahead, going through the chicane, you can't really get the giga exit you want to slingshot past. But it's going well so far. It's a very good driving from all these guys, and Breno Ellis is still there on, you know, waiting in the wings, getting ever closer as well. It's about to kick off for sure.
Yeah, right as it's getting interesting, our time for me and Cam is up in the box as we got the next two commentators in the box right now. Sam and Tim going to take us on for the rest of the race. So good luck to you guys, and thanks from me and Cam, and see you to everyone in chat. Yeah, that'll do us for tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks for keeping the box warm for us, Aiden and Cam. That was some great calls, and what an exciting race it's been. Timmy, I hope you are buckled up and ready to go for the last 90 minutes of this duos race.
It does work. I'm always buckled up. These two, they've been keeping the seats nice and warm. I love a bit of hot bunking. But anyways, we've got some fantastic racing action going on here at Octane Online Racing. This is the SimRigs Duo Series round 2 at Donington, as we have the Nat and Aston going very wide. I'm looking at the wrong screen. Apologies from here. But we're currently looking at Jamie Convoy currently in the green GTR. Anyways, how excited are you for this race, Sam?
Mate, I've had it on. I've been watching it all night with my adult beverage, and I am so keen to watch the finish of this race, mate.
I definitely agree. I'm always excited for a duos race. There's always so much action in these races. But I would like to give a little young man a little shout out. It is Sean Bubnau's son, who has just turned 9, little Xander. I would like to wish him a happy birthday on behalf of the Octane Online Racing commentary team. Man's growing really big, and I wish him good health and prosperity.
He's little Xander has been the most popular viewer of our coverage tonight. I think that's the 3rd or 4th happy birthday shout out that we've had from Xander. So mate, I wish him all the best. Hope he's having, or has had, a fantastic day. And I did get a little tip from the coverage earlier that he is, or may not be, a massive fan of Pokemon. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure there's some lovely presents in store for that young man.
Pokemon are great. I wish I still got them as a gift, but I'm sure Sean Bubnau's been spoiling him with all the Pokemon cards, all the little figurines that he could. But anyways, back to some racing action here. We've got a very nice, I think it's a 3-way battle between Jamie Convoy, Breno Ellis, and leading the pack, leading this 3-way battle, Josh Holmes, as we do have a car exiting pit lane here. Ooh, it's a bit sketchy there. Oh, that looks like there might have been a bit of drama at the back there. I hope they did not get into any kind of contact, but it looks like the Audi managed to react to that. But this is getting very spicy now.
Yeah, mate, it sure is. And I've got a little treat for all of our racing fans tonight. So I've got a couple of friendly racing drivers that are currently competing in this duo series, and they've been kind enough to provide me with an ACC drive hash. So for the back end of this race, Timmy, we're able to get some proper inside, in-depth information as to what these guys are doing, how long they've been running for. Mate, like you throw some questions at me, and more than likely I can get you some of that information.
I'm going to assume one of those cars will be the number 444 of Robert Brickley and Richard Hopkinson in a T22 right now.
Look, like a journalist never reveals their sources. Okay, let's just be thankful for the information that we're able to get a hold of.
Look at this, Sam O'Brien, race engineering for the number 444 GTR while commentating. It is officially rigged, guys. You heard it from him, not me.
Oh, there we go. So as we cut back to this this battle that's been going on all night, we have Joshy Holmes in the 149 Thunderdome Racing Aston Martin, currently sitting in 3rd place and having to fight off JC Convoy in the 139 GTR. Now, Cam and Aiden were astute enough to remind us that it looked like that Joms only went in for a splash and dash, so he didn't change drivers, and also didn't take tyres. So he's going to be due a stop very, very soon. One of our stewards may be able to give us some insight into how that car is travelling for its driver timer, but expect to see the 149 coming in for another pit stop rather shortly, I would have thought.
Yeah, it's to be expected. I think Chris Cooley is another car that's coming for a short stop, because I haven't seen their teammate drive yet, so I think they as well are in for another stop rather soon. But I think what he's doing, he is driving with an academy driver, Chris Cooley. It's Chris Cooley, not the first time he's done it. He likes to give the academy drivers a chance to drive these little enduros, give them some confidence, and making it happen for them. So that's a shout out to him, and it just looks like he is trying to build as big of a gap as he can for his teammate, so his teammate can be as comfortable as possible in that car. And I think their teammate is actually Dan Madden, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, mate. So that is the Pidgey Racing team. As we've got a car off in the distance there of Joms. How is he going to navigate this one? That car stays nice and wide. Well done on the rejoin. Hopefully he doesn't tangle up with a couple of the cars coming behind. But a little bit of excitement there for Joshy as he comes through to the end of Sector 2.
As we do have one of our commentators saying 695 and number 149 will get to about 74 race time remaining before their stuff, and that's coming rather soon, under 10 minutes actually. It's already pretty much happened, so they will be coming in very, very soon. Apologies, my math isn't the greatest.
I was about to say, I'm like, wow, that's really good mental maths. And then I was like, hang on, he's out by about 10 minutes.
I cannot say I've had my own adult beverages and I've spent a long day at work. Unfortunately, I've had to work on a Saturday. How unlucky for me. But so far, it's looking like these guys are still staying out, so we may see a couple more laps. But it'll be interesting to see what happens once their teammates comes in. But Jamie Convoy really starting to look impatient now. He's really on the rear bumper of that Aston Martin. But Donington, not exactly the easiest track to pass on. It is not the widest track. That is very, very technical, yet very high speed at the same time. So we'll have to see if he plays the patient game. He probably knows that Josh Holmes has to pit eventually. But he's going to want to start getting away from the car behind him, Breno Ellis. Breno Ellis also a very, very quick driver, and they're gonna want to try and get past that green GTR. So this battle may get more interesting once we see the Aston go in the pits.
Come on, mate. You know JC as well as I do. Do you think that he's just going to settle for passing Joshy Holmes in the pits? I don't think so. Ladies and gentlemen, keep your eyes on this battle here and expect to see, we see Josh go very defensive into the Melbourne hairpin there as they come down into the final turn. GTR just showing his nose there, reminding Josh that he's there. Not that he's forgotten, I would have thought. But the minute that he sees a chink in that armour of Joms, he'll be trying to hope that it is a GTR-shaped hole and that he can stuff that car straight through.
Yep, definitely agree. But, you know, yeah, JC probably try to pass him, but there's still an hour and 20 minutes to go. I think what JC is more worried about is managing a pit stop of his own. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen to that great GTR once he goes back in the pits and potentially hands the car back to Lucas Keys. Lucas Keys absolutely flying at the start of this race. Did not give JC the real opportunity to pass any of the cars behind. You know, he decided, you know what, I'm going to pass 99% of the field and then I'm going to give you the car, JC.
Well, that's just Lucas Keys being Lucas Keys somehow, I think. As we cast our eyes a little bit further down the timing tree, let's get a bit of an update of where we are in terms of the driver classing. So the 777 in Chris Cooley is currently obviously leading overall, but also taking out the silver class P1 with Connor Hind, Josh Holmes, and JC123 in our pro class. And then we need to go down to P10 for Mike Crick in the 23 GTR for silver P2 and Picky in the 991 GTR for silver P3. As we continue to look further down the timing tree, in P14 we have Spenceley in the 914 Porsche in heading up Pro-Am, followed by Lloyd in the 216 Mustang. And then Bank in P17 in the 538 McLaren, rounding out the podiums there for our Pro-Am classes. So, Timmy, there's quite a good mix of classes and class leaders throughout the field. What I'm sort of keen to see is how that 777's going to fare when driver number 2 gets in the car.
I'm definitely interested because Dan Madden's brother, Matt Madden, is currently in P23, and I think Dan is gonna keep talking about this race, especially if he ends up winning the duos race to his brother. I'm wishing him the best of luck. Chris Cooley definitely giving him a big enough gap to make it happen, but at the same time, these guys behind are no slouches when it comes to manhandling a race car. So he's going to potentially have a lot of pressure here towards the end of the race, as we see the Audi go for a move onto the GTR. No, the 992 Porsche, and that looks like move done for Stephen Ty around Brano Ellis. That was a very, very opportunistic move there. Was not seeing that one happen, and I was going to try and go defensive out of the final corner, but looks like he's managed to make it stick, and now that puts Stephen Ty up to P5, and Brano Ellis will have to be relegated to P6.
That was a slick move from Stevie Ty there in the Audi. He's done fantastic, and both drivers need to be complimented on being able to keep that one clean. It can be a tricky spot to overtake, as we've got a yellow flag in Sector 2. It is car number 2 showing there, and unfortunately that is Ataniaki in the number 23 Ferrari, who's had a bit of an issue there, unfortunately. Currently sitting down in P23, sitting behind the aforementioned Mr. Madden. So we may get a replay of that incident, so we can see exactly what happened there as we jump back onto this tantalising battle between Joshua Holmes and Mr. JC. JC sort of going the inside there, trying to take as much toe as he can from that blue flag Porsche as they come through the final chicane here and heading down into the hairpin. Let's just watch the attitude and the body language of the cars here, Timmy. Josh using all the road, he's not worried about any threat from the GTR behind into that corner there. JC taking a slightly tighter line. We'll see if that's going to give him a bit more drive as he's tucked right up in behind, nothing doing at all there. And it seems that we're going to resume positions and go to battle for another lap.
Josh Holmes definitely doing a masterclass in defense, as we see the GTR really looking around, trying to find a way to get around, perhaps trying to spook the Aston, but Josh Holmes is one of those drivers that doesn't easily get spooked from fake dives and stuff like that. I know these two, they're good mates. They've driven together before. They've driven together, I think it was the 12 Hour of Coda. They were in the same car, so they know each other pretty well. Josh Holmes knows JC's tactics. JC knows how Josh Holmes drives, but it's just not scaring him enough. So, yeah, Josh Holmes doing a fantastic job here at defending GTR, especially such a monster. That car is out of corners. It's absolute rocket of a car, but now JC has other troubles, as that Audi now starting to really get onto his rear bumper, and now he's going to have to start thinking about perhaps also defending the Audi of Stephen Ty. We saw Stephen Ty a couple laps back make a move on Brano Ellis, so he knows how to drive that car around. Not exactly the most easiest car to drive in ACC, but it's definitely a challenge, and Stephen Ty has managed to make it work, as we do get some sort of replay. Looks like perhaps the Ferrari at the front. It looks like the Ferrari of Ataniaki gets collected by the McLaren of Bank there. Not sure what that was. Looked like perhaps Ataniaki did a bit of a mistake and started braking too early, but Bank had to react to the Aston, and once the Aston moved out the way, he ended up collecting the Ferrari. So that's unfortunate for Tanayaki, as we do see JC look like he tried to go for a move there. He will get the inside around T2, and looks like it's going to be moved up for the GTR, but Josh Holmes is still there. In fact, he's under threat from the Audi now, and now he's going to go side by side with the Audi. The Audi will get the inside here at the old hairpin, and looks like it will be moved on, but he's not done fighting yet, as he now goes to the outside and still side by side with the Audi, not giving him any room. In fact, he's going to take the inside from McLean's, but it looks like he decides to pull out of it, perhaps thinking about his pit stop, and the Audi does manage to pull ahead. So that is unfortunate for Josh Holmes. I actually wonder what's happened there, because that's straight up 2 positions lost.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Joshy Holmes has just made a bit of a mistake there. And when you've got 4 and 5 cars in such close proximity, those mistakes are so costly. And we saw, as JC moved to the inside, Stevie Ty tucked right up behind that rear wing and decided that they'd get a bit of a 2-for-1. And obviously both of those cars cruising through. So as we get into the dying stages of this race, as Antoniaki takes a bit of grass there to try and jump out of the way of this leading pack. As we get into the dying stages of this race, this is, I think, what we're going to see, Timmy. We're just going to see that small mistakes when we've got cars in such close proximity are going to be super costly. And as you mentioned earlier, Donington isn't the easiest place to overtake. So Josh will be kicking himself, because it's going to take a bit to try and get those 2 places back.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you here, but I'm wondering if he's going for, because there's only an hour and 13 minutes remaining to this race. I wonder how the other guys are doing on fuel. Actually, they should all be able to finish the race. Yeah, ignore what I say, but I think he's going to have to start thinking about bringing the car in and throw in the second driver with an hour and 13 minutes. I'm sure the Aston can finish the race now, but that's probably what he's thinking. He just wants to make sure that his teammate... Oh, do we see that? Oh, just JC just taking the outside, completely sending it, catching what looks like Jones off guard, and now they're going to go side by side into T1, and JC will get the inside for that one. So that's a very, very opportunistic move from JC. He probably, in fact, made Josh think that, oh yeah, now I'm following you around the inside. It's so good. And then just perhaps last second moves around to the outside and makes the move there. That was very, very smart driving from Jamie Conboy. And as we see, yeah, the Audi really following the GTR, seeing that, oh, that's another opportunity for me to get another position, and I will take it. And he's managed to make it stick. And I'm wondering here, yeah, Josh Holmes just decides, you know what, pull out. And in fact, he has got into the pits, so he will throw in his second driver to finish off the race.
There we go. So P3 in the pits. As soon as we ticked over that 1 hour and 14 minutes left remaining, I thought, okay, we're going to be on for a pit stop here the next couple of laps. The leader is also into the pits in that 777 Ferrari, so he will also be throwing in the second driver. So be interested to see how this washes out for these two. As a bit of a weird start, or maybe having to sort of get in position over the box there for the 777. So hopefully not a long pit stop for them, because that won't be very exciting and won't help their race prospects at all. As Joshy Holmes' car now exits the pits with no doubt a fresh set of rubber and a fresh driver. And it seems like both of those cars were right on the max stint timer. Timmy Purcell has taken command of the 149 Aston. He is no slouch either, so keep an eye on him, ladies and gentlemen. Expecting to see him make some moves up through the timing tower, especially, as he has a bit of a mistake there, especially as the cars in front jump in for a set of tyres and maybe some fuel, depending on where they're at with their pit strategies.
Purcell not waiting around. He saw his teammate lose 2 positions, and he definitely wants those positions back. These drivers so fearless, especially sending it out the pits like that onto the grass. That's a bit dodgy on the new tires, because their temps won't be optimal, and you risk getting pressure loss very early on if you start out like that. But you know, a little bit is fine, as we are now looking at Dan Madden. He does have a 32-second, oh, 30, no, not 32, a 12-second gap to JC, but JC has not pitted yet, so gap is looking more like almost a minute. I don't know how long how long pit stops are here. I know it's 30 seconds in the box if you change drivers, and that's about it. I think it's 30 seconds plus 45. And he's around a minute ahead if we're counting in JC's next pit stop. So definitely doable here. Has a very, very big buffer, and if he's been practicing, and especially practicing with the fantastic Chris Cooley, I reckon it's doable for this car.
Yeah, it's going to make for some fascinating watching as we dive towards the end of the race. So Timmy, we had 4 cars come in for a pit stop there. So we had the 777, the 695, the 141, which now has Bub now driving, and the 149 with Timmy Purcell behind the wheel. So I'll be keeping an eye on ACC Drive to see if it flags any other cars coming into the pit to make some final pit stops, which will then take them to the end of the race. As we're looking at vision of Chris Taylor, just under half a second to Benefield in the 912 Porsche ahead of him. He'll be looking to close that gap and hopefully go for a move.
Yeah, this is getting exciting. Very, very exciting. But Chris Taylor has a bit of work ahead of him. He's a very, very quick driver, but he's currently sitting in P6 and he has Benefield ahead of him. And Benefield's proven to be an extremely quick driver as well. Has won a couple races last season, if I remember correctly. So going to be a lot of work for Chris Taylor, but he's under a second behind. So let's see what they can do with their battle for what is P5.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at some of the lap time data here. So on his last lap, Chris Taylor did a 28.2 and Benefield did a 27.7. So what's that, about a half a second gap there. So if Benefield can keep up that pace, I wonder whether Chris Taylor's going to be able to deal with it. So we'll keep a keen eye on that one as we go through.
If I remember correctly, did 695 get into pits yet? They did, didn't they? Yeah, they just came out the pits. I was gonna say, I was wondering if they've already done their pit stop, but our fantastic broadcaster here has corrected me, and they have done their pit stop, so ignore what I've been saying. But yeah, Chris Taylor has a bit of work ahead of him. Benefield definitely quick in that Porsche. Just a lot of work to Honda. Again, another one of those cars which aren't easy to drive, so snappy. Kudos to these drivers driving the Audi and the Honda. Those are extremely challenging cars to drive, but especially with the Honda, if you know what you're doing, it can be a very, very quick car.
Yeah, it definitely seems like in the hands of the right operators, the Honda, the Audi can be absolutely rapid. But for someone that's as ham-fisted as I am, I don't think I'd ever dream of piloting one of those machines. I don't know whether you've had a crack at them at all, Timmy, but I've never even sat in either of those two vehicles.
I've tried the Audi. In fact, for Sprint Series, I almost took the Audi, and then I tried my beloved Ford again, and it just felt too nice not to take it, so I decided, nah, I don't want to suffer the Audi for 6 rounds. I'll go back in the Ford, thank you very much. And so far it felt like the correct decision, as now there is blue flag traffic between the Porsche and the Honda, and looking like the GTR is going to move out the way, but hopefully, yeah, they're out the way.
Yeah, I have been keeping an eye on that as well. So that gap between P1 and P2 has been rapidly decreasing. We're now down to under 5 seconds. So if you remember when Madden came out of the pits, he had a 12-second gap back to the 193 machine. That is now down to 4.5 seconds. And on the last lap, it was 2.3 seconds the difference. So I dare say there will be an overtake coming rather swiftly and a change of positions for those two drivers.
see. Perhaps, JC might have the quicker lap times, but nothing tells us that Dan Madden is bad at defending. We've seen Josh Holmes, obviously Josh Holmes, a pro driver, has managed to hold off JC, but I'm wondering if Dan Madden is going to be fighting this one, because he knows that this GTR has to go in the pits again. He knows he does have a bit of a gap, so there's a chance he might let him go. There's another chance where keeps him behind. It just builds that buffer a bit more, because if he lets him pass, JC can decrease that gap even more. But if he keeps the GTR behind, actually, that gap will basically stay the same until that GTR goes in the pits. So I'm wondering if Dan Madden's going to try and defend this, and I'm wondering if Chris Cooley is giving him instruction on how to deal with drivers of the caliber of JC Conboy and Stephen Ty, Brando Ellis, all that stuff.
I'm sure Mr. Dink Donk is in Madden's ear and coaching him through this. They no doubt be able to watch that gap just slowly decrease. So it's gonna be a matter of time until those two cars are sharing the same piece of tarmac, and then the battle is going to be on for young and old. Last lap round was a 29.7 playing a 27.9. So there's quite a pace delta there. So we'll see how long Madden can hold on there.
I'm crossing my fingers and that he holds on until JC goes in the pits. I know it's very optimistic, but I love seeing an underdog hold off the more experienced drivers. It's always so good to see. I've seen it multiple times, actually, in sprints this season, where we had the driver currently in P17, which is now in the pits, Tara Bank, getting a top much easily. Well, I wouldn't say easily, getting into the top 10s on his first ever sprint race. He just came out of academy, and first ever sprint race, I think he got something like P8. So I always love seeing the story of an underdog, and if we could see that Ferrari win, I don't care if Dink Donk drove the Ferrari, then they just brought him all the pace. It's a team effort at the end of the day. If Dink Donk did his work and kept that Ferrari far enough ahead where Dan Madden could take it over the finish, it would be a fantastic thing to see.
Look, I'm sure you, me, and just about everyone in the YouTube comments is cheering Dan on from wherever they're deciding to catch our lovely coverage from tonight. So we will definitely keep an eye on that battle, and I'm also keeping an eye on the Benefield-Taylor battle as well. And it appears that gap is sort of coming out shortly. I'm just waiting for some of the lap times to update. So last lap round, Benefield did a 27.6, and just waiting for Taylor to cross the start-finish line and for that time to update as well. But I will then be able to give you a bit of a lap time comparison on that battle as we're looking here, and JC is now within a second of the 777 PG Racing Ferrari. So as they come down the pit straight here, JC throwing out all of his psychological tricks here, all over the road, just letting Dan know that he's there, and I'm sure he has not forgotten. But JC's going to need to. He's going to need to pick his mark here very well, Timmy. He's going to have to mind his P's and Q's, and we're now down to under 3 tenths. So this is going to get very spicy very, very quickly. So we shall keep an eye on this. He's almost pushing him along the track here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is some fantastic driving from both of these pilots here. Will JC make a move into the long right-hander here? A little bit too far back and nothing doing, and he does still have Stevie Ty right on the back bumper there and in very close company. No doubt the cars will go through the chicane one by one, and if I was JC, I'd be eyeing up a move into one of the next 2 hairpins.
Yeah, but we'll see. But Dan Madden aggressively defending as well. I love seeing it, holding the inside. JC will have to go around the outside. He does have to give him room here, but so far he's holding up the GTR. In fact, JC had his line very compromised. Now he's under threat from the Audi of Stephen Ty. Now he has to defend the Audi of Stephen Ty. This is very exciting stuff. Dan Madden does a bit of a mistake, unfortunately, but they're still going to be side by side for the start finish. And in fact, Dan Madden still moving his car as close as possible to the GTR, and he will get the inside, but unfortunately the GTR out of a corner is just a monster of a car, and it just looks like he's not going to be able to hold off. But as I say that, in fact, he's still actually he's gone ahead of the GTR. The GTR having to go the wide line there. He will get the inside here, but Dan will get the inside into the next corner. In fact, Dan doing a fantastic job here at holding JC, forcing him wide, but no contact. So this is just fair, hard racing. Unfortunately, he will lose multiple positions here from Dan Madden, but that was very, very good defending here from our academy driver. Very, very clean.
That was some fantastic racing from all 4, if not 5 of those drivers there. There was a couple of times where it looked like it was going to end in tears, especially with Stevie Ty jumping all over the back of that Ferrari there, and giving poor Dan absolutely no track to work with. So, but we have seen JC, Ty, and Ellis all stream past the 777, who's now got Benefield to contend with, who is behind him with a little bit of a gap. So we'll keep an eye on that 777 and see how long he can hold on to these positions. And we'll now keep a keen eye on our top 3. They're going to have a run to the finish. There is less than a second and a half that covers those 3 cars there, with some very, very experienced and very quick drivers piloting those 3 machines. So I think we're in for one hell of an end to this race, Timmy.
Yeah, but definitely agree with you. I'm wondering if that Porsche has to stop again. I've seen the Porsche multiple times in these 3-hour races go for the one-stop strategy, and it has paid off massively for the Porsche drivers. So there's still a chance here for that Porsche to actually grab the win just by not having to stop again. I'm 100% sure the GTR has to stop again. Audi, I am not too sure. I don't think the Audi is exactly the best car in fuel, but I don't think it's the worst either, even if it has a massive, big, roaring V10 in the back. But I've been proven wrong before, and there's a good chance I'm going to be proven wrong again here as they go through the chicane. And looking at JC is actually being able to properly stretch his legs again, and he has built a not a massive gap, but a little bit of a gap to the Audi behind after that interesting battle with the number 777 Ferrari. But it's not over yet. There is still 57 minutes of this race remaining. Anything could happen. JC could muck up his pit stop. We've seen him do it multiple times now. Wouldn't be surprised if he does it again, but I'm crossing my fingers. He's gonna get it right this time.
So I'm just keeping an eye on the timing screens as these guys cross the line. So JC there with a 27.5. His last lap was a 29.7. So 100% the beast has been unleashed here, and we can see that he, as you said, Timmy, he is slowly building a gap back to Stevie Ty, who was sort of about 2/10 off JC's pace on that last lap. And then we look back to Ellis, who was sort of 3/10 adrift of Ty, and 5/10 adrift off the time of JC there. So we'll see how this plays out. We're going to obviously have some blue flag traffic and stuff that these guys are going to have to contend with as they run through. And our one and only Joshy Holmes, he's jumped straight out of the driver's seat and straight into YouTube chat with a little bit of a pro driver insight for us. So he said that both the Porsches will stop again, and so will the Audi. So it seems that we might be in for a fair fight towards the end of the race here, Timmy.
This is going to be very, very exciting, and JC will have the front seat for now to the cars behind, and he's going to be thinking about the 777 car and trying to build as much of a gap as he can. He knows he's quicker, and he's going to have to come in within, I assume, the next 10 minutes and handing the car back over to Lucas Keys, and we've seen what Lucas can do. So this is going to be very, very exciting for these drivers here. Stephen Ty, he's pulling away a bit from Stephen Ty, but not massively. Nothing too dramatic in the gaps here. Could be the tire delta difference. I am not sure, but so far JC really pushing the GTR here, which could be also another sign where his stint is coming to an end very soon, and he wants to build as big of a gap as possible when handing the car back over to Lucas Keys, and also to prevent the cars behind him from undercutting him or overcutting him, excuse me.
Yeah, no, you're spot on, and we are starting to see the true pace of these top three play out here. So a 27.7 for JC, a 27.9 for Stevie Ty, and a 28.2 for Breno Ellis. So if it continues as it is, we are going to see these top three sort of drift apart and open those little gaps up. And having a look down the timing tree at P9, Timmy Purcell in the 149 Aston there, under 2/10 off the back of Weatherburn in the 599 Mustang. So hopefully we can get some vision of that. It looks like that battle is heating up a little bit, and he has gotten past the 599 of Weatherburn there. So Timmy Purcell, as we thought, slowly making his way through the field there. And I'm just scanning down the timing tree for any other sort of close battles that we may have. It appears, even by looking at the track map there, that with 54 minutes left of racing, that the field has spread out a little bit, and we've still got the top three covered by a few seconds, and they will do battle until the end, Timmy.
Yeah, this is... I've said it multiple times, I'll say it again. This is very, very exciting. It's looking like actually Steven Ty's managed to close the gap a little bit to JC here. So perhaps JC doing some mistakes now as we're looking at Sean Bubnow now, currently sitting in P7. I think in the background there, that might be the Aston of Tim Purcell. And it was the Aston of Tim Purcell. And we see the Ford of Yoda right behind him. So that car has managed to get around the big heavy Mustang and is now on the hunt for the number 141 McLaren.
I wonder if Mr. Bubnow's if his son's birthday is spurring him on today, or whether he's maybe driving a bit tired after having a kids' party and running around all day. So normally a very, very quick operator. Is he Shawnee? Currently been in the car for 18 minutes. So for that car, yeah, it's going to be touch and go whether they're going to be able to get to the end on that tank of fuel. There's actually quite a few cars, Tim, that I think are going to really struggle to get to the end after that stop that they've just done. I'm looking at the 777 in might be able to make that. That's still a long way to go for the Ferrari. But the 695, the 141, and the 149 have all been in the car from anywhere from sort of 18 to 19 minutes. As we see, Timmy Purcell has received a drive-through for causing a collision on lap 83. And that is 100% going to hurt his progress through the field and hurt their race there, Timmy.
Oh, that's going to absolutely wreck their race, actually, because they just got passed by JC right before their pit stops, and now any of their hopes trying to get back ahead of their GTR, I hate to say it, are pretty much gone with 50 minutes to go here. That's a very, very harsh penalty for the number 149. I'm wondering what's happened there for them to get a drive-through penalty. It must have been a very, very dramatic incident for the stewards to decide that it's deserving of a drive-through. So hopefully our fantastic broadcaster here, as I see on the left screen, is furiously looking for that incident. And I think it's an incident between actually with the Ford of Jacob Weatherburn, where they managed to get a drive-through for that. But I'm just very interested to see.
So I'm sure we'll get a replay of that shortly. And here it comes up now. So we see the two cars in very close proximity, heading down into the second to last hairpin, and just a bit of a whoopsie there from the Aston. Missed a braking marker at a guess and has tagged the back of Weatherburn there. Drive-through penalty is one of the biggest that the stewards have to hand out. So they've obviously reviewed the onboard footage of both vehicles as Timmy Purcell trundles through the pits now, serving that penalty. but they've obviously reviewed the onboards of both vehicles and deemed that it was warranting a drive-through. While that was all happening, there was a host of pit stops that happened there. So Lucas Keys is back piloting the 139, currently sitting in 5th position. The number 7 with Breno Ellis at the wheel has also come in and taken a pit stop, and the 912 with Benefield behind the wheel has taken a pit stop. Our mate Damiano Turcolini in the 911 Porsche, currently sitting in 14th position, has also jumped back behind the wheel of that car and has started his dash to the finish. So I'd expect that most, if not all, of the field are going to need to, take a pit stop between now and the end of the race. And like I said earlier, I'm suspect on a few of those cars that pitted early, whether they're going to be able to make it to the end.
Left and coast, my friend. A lot of left and coast. That was like about an hour, 10 minutes to go before that Aston came into the pits, and with the pit stop being about just under a minute total in the pits, I think they can do it in the Aston. It's not the most fuel-hungry car out there. That honor probably go to the Ford. I know the 777 will definitely be able to do the whole race. Ferrari's known to be a very, very fuel-efficient car. The Porsche of Breno Ellis, I think, has to come in the pits once more, and it looks like they have come in the pits as they are still behind the number 139 of Lucas Keys. So it looks like they decided to follow them in. Stephen Ty now in the pits. So let's see what happens. Let's see if Dan Madden can get back in the lead here of this race, and he should be able to. I don't think they got that far away from him as they went into the pits, but I'm wondering if Stephen Ty here is doing a splash and dash, or if they've decided to take tires as well. And so far, they're still in the pit, so it's looking like they are taking tires, perhaps a driver change as well, but we'll see once they come out. But Stephen Ty's stint is now over in the Audi, and it's looking like they've decided to take a driver. They've been stationary for quite a while now, but Dan Madden gets back into the lead of this race, and Stevie Ty still in the pits. I'm wondering if Chris Taylor actually is going to be able to get ahead of the number 111 Audi. I'm not sure if that 695 has to stop again, but they're currently in P2, so they've managed to jump the Audi as well. So they're ahead of Lucas Keys and the Audi. In fact, they've managed to jump a few cars there. They were P6 at one point, and now they're sitting P2. So I'm wondering if they have to stop again.
I think it's going to be touch and go. They're currently 24 minutes into that stint with 47 minutes remaining. So, my maths tells me that that's a 75-minute stint. Maybe someone can jump into YouTube chat who's familiar with the Honda and give us a bit of an insight into the fuel economy and the sort of stint times for that car. But I know anything north of 70 minutes for most of these GT3 cars is a bit of a stretch. So yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. Hopefully we get someone that's a bit more knowledgeable than you and I, Timmy, chime in and give us a bit of a steer on that one.
The only cars I know that can do at least 90 minutes, at least they did it at I think it was Indy, is the Porsche. Could do a no-stop in Indy, and the GTR, as long as you did heavy fuel saving in that car, so lots of lift and coasting. But the Porsche could do it pretty easily. But apart from these two cars, I don't know which other cars can actually do it. Perhaps maybe the Ferrari. But yeah, anything north of 70 minutes, like you said, is a stretch for these big GT3 cars.
Yeah, I know, that Madden in the 777, he should be right to the end. In the Enduros this year, we've been able to pretty comfortably get the Ferrari to a sort of 75 to 80 minute stint, even with my big fat lead right foot. So that we know that car's comfortable to the end. The Honda, I think, is going to be a bit touch and go. So we'll keep an eye on that one. And the other car that I think maybe touch and go is the 149, which currently sitting in 9th position after that drive-through. So yeah, there's a few I think that are going to have to be fuel saving, especially towards the end of this race, to try and get over the line, and that is going to play a factor as well. As the drivers get closer and closer to the line, I think we'll see that the fuel saving measures get more and more desperate, depending on the level of fuel in their fuel tanks there. So with 45 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen, we are not done. This race definitely has some more to give us, Timmy.
Yep, and as we look at the track map to our right, we can see the 777, the leading car marked with a triangle for our beloved viewers, is quite a fair bit ahead of the 695, but Chris Taylor's last lap, I think, was a 27.6. So he's definitely flying out there. And as the 777 now goes for the chicane, the 695 car is going around turn 8, so he does have a bit of breathing room here, but with speed, these pro drivers absolutely close up on Dan Madden, and I can't imagine the amount of pressure he's feeling because of Dink Donk here, but at the same time, I'm sure he's very excited to potentially win his first duos race, but it's not said and done until that timer goes down to 0 and he crosses that start finish line. So anything could still happen, but I'm still crossing my fingers. I know he can do it, and I really hope he does do it.
So it's something that doesn't often get talked about, and I've definitely experienced it in the car, Tim, so I'd be interested to see if you felt the same. But this could be quite tricky for Dan. So I found that when I'm racing and I'm not in close proximity to any cars of a similar pace, and I've got no one in front, it's very easy to lose focus a little bit and lose pace because you've got no measure, you've got no one to chase. It's kind of easy to lose your spot a little bit, lose your rhythm and your pace a little, and end up doing lap times that are quite a bit slower than what you'd expect to be doing. And so I'm sure Chris is in Dan's ear, coaching him through that, because at the moment he's in complete clear air. What's he got? Something like 18 seconds behind him to Chris Taylor, and a rather sizable gap in front. So I'm sure he's going to struggle with not having any sort of pace reference in this stint. Have you experienced anything similar, Tim?
I have not experienced these issues in the sprint races. However, I've been scolded by my teammate, which is in YouTube chat right now, Toto, Nathan Monks, where I would drive what I would think was normal, and then all of a sudden I'm getting the talking to in my ears from Toto saying, "Hey Gubby, focus up again, you're driving like crap." I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry." You don't realize it. I know exactly what you mean, especially in those long endurance races, those 12-hour races, because me and Toto were a bit insane. We want to do these races only as a duo. So when you're driving for 6 hours during the day, after the 3-4 hour mark, you start to zone out a little bit, and you just need your teammate to slap you a little bit and just tell you to focus up again. You're a second slower than you usually are. You're doing stupid mistakes that you would never usually do. So it's possible he might be experiencing that in a 3-hour race. However, especially he's not even been driving an hour yet, I think he's doing all right. I think his main priority is keeping it consistent, doing his consistent lap times and not doing any mistakes. I think he'd be happy with that, and I'm sure Cooley is not pressuring him for a win. He just wants to give the academy driver this experience.
Oh, I don't know about that. All's fair in love and war, and when on a racetrack. I would not expect Chris Taylor to give Dan any inch of competitive advantage here. They're sharing the same bit of racetrack. They are competing for P1 overall. I can't see Chris pulling any punches here if and when he gets onto the back of that 777. And to be fair, I'd be rather disappointed if Chris did hold a little bit back. You know, this is motor racing.
Can I correct you? I was talking about Chris Cooley.
Oh, I thought you meant Chris Taylor. I was like, oh, mate, no.
Taylor is definitely going to want to catch him, and he's not going to give him a chance. If he has the opportunity to pass that 777, he will definitely pass him. Nah, I mean, Chris Cooley, he's going to be more relaxed about it. He's not going to be pressuring Madden to tell him, you know, we have to win this race. You know, he just wants Madden to have fun, Madden to have this opportunity to do these races, and he's done it a couple times now that I remember. He ran an academy team for Bathurst, and in fact they did very well in that. I think they got a top 10, so kudos to them on that one. And I'm sure he just wants Madden to just gain the experience, drive with around a more experienced driver, experience what it's like to drive around with the pro drivers. So he's ready to, let's say, move on to a more competitive series.
That makes loads more sense. We've got too many Chris's at the pointy end of this field, Timmy. As we jump on board with the aforementioned Chris Taylor, and the current gap to the car in front is showing 11.8 seconds on my screen here, as he's just fighting that car through all of these corners. Have a look at the wheel work from Chris Taylor. So many micro adjustments needed to keep to keep that Honda on the straight and narrow there, as he is closing up the gap to what we can only assume is a blue flag car here. And Teniake unfortunately has had another incident and is having a little bit of trouble getting back on the track. I know exactly how he feels. I have definitely been there. You spin, you get frustrated, you nail the loud pedal, and then you spin again. So hopefully we'll see a bit of a replay of what has happened there to Mr. Ataniake, who is still currently sitting in P23 behind the number 5 BMW of the other Madden there in P22.
See some to come from Ferrex, our previous commentators. Lucas will catch Taylor and Madden for sure. I can always dream. Okay, Cam, I can dream for Dan Madden. He's got, I'm not supposed to be biased to any of these drivers, but come on, academy driver leading the race. How can I not be supportive of that? He's put himself, he wasn't obliged to do this race. He just put his hands up this to Dink Donk. He asked if any academies drivers wanted to do the race. He put his hand up. He's put himself in that seat, probably knowing he was going to have to lead the race at some point, and he's doing a fantastic job. I can always dream.
Dreams are free, Timmy, so you're more than welcome to have a dream there, as Lucas Keys is currently less than 4/10 off the back of the 695 machine of Chris Taylor. It doesn't look like he's right. Okay, so the timing tree scared me a little bit there, and I absolutely missed that move. So apologies to any of our viewers there. But Lucas Keys has absolutely stormed through the 695 there, and is now going to be chasing down Dan in the 777 there, Tim.
And he's not that far back either. He's around 9 seconds back from that 777 car. He's already built a massive gap to Chris Taylor. Obviously, we've seen Lucas Keys do a 26 flat when he got back in the car, so he's absolutely flying out there. He probably does not have a full tank, as we do get a replay of that incident. God, that is incident aside, yeah, that was a bit of a mistake. Ended up putting the left-hand side onto the grass, and that just race cars don't necessarily like that very much. But apart from that, that is a stunning livery on that Ferrari. I absolutely adore it.
It is a great Ferrari. It reminds me of some of the liveries that we had for the Italian Job Enduro series. It's very much an Italian flag design there. which suits Ferrari down to the ground and looks spectacular there. As having a look at Mr. Lucas Keys in the 139 Pain and Misery Nissan GTR here. He is currently 7.3 seconds off the back of our leader and closing rapidly. Last lap, the delta was 3 seconds. So judging by that, ladies and gentlemen, sort of 2.5 laps, and we should see the Nissan right on the bumper of the Ferrari.
I've seen that Nissan behind me more than I would have liked to. Yeah, Lucas Keys is an interesting driver. He likes to show off a bit and start at the back of the grid. He has been teaching me a bit to drive a bit better, but he's a bit of a show off. You can't not admit that, and rightly slow. He's absolutely rocket when it comes to driving these cars around. And the team name Pain and Misery. Do you reckon that team name is him being in pain or misery, or him giving other drivers pain and misery?
It must be inflicting pain and misery, I'd say.
I reckon so as well.
Because I don't know how much pain and misery there is going on in the cockpit of that GTR there. And does anyone speak German who can translate the message across the nose of that GTR? And maybe if you can speak German and you can translate the message across the nose there, if it's naughty, maybe don't tell us, because that's probably not something that we want on the stream. As we see Pete Viney in the 78 Porsche, currently sitting in P13, has just completed what will be his last pit stop. Keep an eye on that car. He is going to be rapid. No doubt they've not fueled that car right to the brim. I'm guessing they've probably put on a fresh set of boots, so he's definitely going to have some pace and be looking to charge back through the field on that one, Timmy. Timmy, are you there, Timmy? Oh no! Quick, someone do a welfare check. John, if you're listening, quick, run around, knock on his door, make sure that he hasn't fallen asleep in the commentator's box there. And I did hear a little giggle from the man, so I'm hoping that maybe he is okay. As Lucas Keys is now 2.2 seconds off the back of Dan Madden, so we definitely do have a battle incoming here. If this was the Sky Sports F1 coverage, I'm sure we'd get that cool little graphic with the lines between the cars. But here at OOR, we just look at the live racing that is going on track. As Dan Madden defends into the Melbourne hairpin there, he's going to do everything he can to keep that GTR behind him. He's been passed by it once on track before and did his darndest to keep it behind. And there's no other cars to get involved in this battle like there was last time. So go Dan. Keep him behind you for as long as you can, mate.
I think he's actually letting him by. Apologies from that. I've had a call from a relative to quickly answer, but I am back. He gave Lucas the opportunity to pass there. He's covered the outside. I'm not a big... My knowledge of Donington isn't exactly great, perhaps. Actually, yes, you want to cross into the outside for the pit lane and basically cut into the pit exit to get the optimum entry into turn one. I remember that. So wondering if he was defending that, but he did give a lot of room here to Lucas Keys. And wondering if Lucas Keys is going to try and get around as soon as he can, or he just wants to have a bit of fun, knowing that the driver in front of him is a less experienced driver. But I expect to see this GTR getting around pretty soon, I would assume, within this lap or the next. I think Lucas Keys, unfortunately, is going to take the lead of the race.
There you go. And JC's popped into chat with the heart of freshness. So I can only assume that's what the message across the nose of that GTR, which throws it up the inside of Dan Madden there. Didn't do a whole lot to defend that position from that marauding GTR. And we have now unleashed Lucas Keys with 30 minutes left to go in this race. I think he's definitely going to take some beating.
does have more cars behind him. We see in the background, we see the Honda of Chris Taylor and I think that's the Ford of, was that the Ford of Callum Gibbons? They're currently sitting in P10, but that looked like the Pixel Racers Ford in the background. Wondering if that's a lapped car. I'm a bit confused there because it says they're P10, but I swear I saw that car in the background. Tell me I'm not crazy.
I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can tell you that you're not crazy here, Timmy. I don't know whether we can. I mean, so the 599 Mustang of Gibbo is sporting a Pixel Racers livery. So whether you thought you saw Gibbo behind Gibbo in P10, maybe put down the adult beverages, mate.
Crazy.
You got 29 minutes to get through.
It is the P10 car. They are lapped. It's a lapped car behind Dan Madden. I knew it.
Mate, as long as that makes sense in your head, Timmy, all okay. Play on. As Dan Madden goes very, very wide there into the hairpin, and Weatherburn has a sniff at unlapping himself. He's gonna look for the inside line here. Dan doesn't do a whole lot to defend. Takes the optimum line through there, but there is nothing doing. A bit of a dodgy spot to try and make an overtake into T1 there. There is absolutely no grip on that corner there at all. So we'll stay with this battle. I think this is going to be quite a tantalising battle for the 599 to unlap themselves here through the car that is currently sitting P2, and there is a train of cars currently banking up behind the 777 there. So Dan is going to have his work. He's going to have his work cut out here for him. You know, there's not a whole lot to be lost or gained in defending against these cars. So we'll see where his head's at, whether he's planning to just let them through or whether he's going to have a bit of fun and make life difficult. As they look to go 2 by 2 through the chicane, Dan thinks better of it. It tucks up behind the back of the Mustang. Is he going to be capable of mounting a counter-offensive into the Melbourne hairpin there? And probably a little bit further back as we see the Honda there, Chris Taylor, move through a blue flag car as well. And he is now right on the back of P2 and is going to be looking to make a move in the next lap.
That is a lot of cars, but the only car really battling Dan Madden in this field is actually the Honda of Chris Taylor. All these other cars are lapped cars. They're probably going to look at unlapping themselves. So he wouldn't really be. He wouldn't be defending them at all. That's asking for a penalty if you're defending a car trying to unlap themselves. These cars have the right to unlap themselves, and as long as they can build a sufficient gap to the car they're unlapping themselves to, they're more than allowed to do it. He does not have to move out the way, but the unlapping car has to unlap themselves safely, and they're not supposed to defend. It's a whole charade. It's a bit awkward at times when a car's unlapping themselves because you did a mistake, and then you try to lap them again, and then they think they've got the pace. It gets a bit awkward at times, but now he's going to be defending the Honda of Chris Taylor, and they've got a bunch of other cars behind, which, again, like I said, are lapped cars. And it's an awkward situation for these two because, like I said, these other cars are battling a battle of their own. I think that's the Porsche of, if I remember correctly, Turcolini. Do they drive the green Porsche guys? Porsche? Or no, that is not Turcolini. Which Porsche? That's like 5,000 Porsche guys, Porsches in this racing. It's a bit confusing. What number is that? I can't quite figure it out. And it might be Roy Antkin, the 914 of Roy Antkin, and behind them is an Aston, which I can only assume is Ben Oliver. So these two are battling. There's another battle going on behind them technically on a different part of track. They go side by side there. Chris Taylor very aggressive with the overtake there, but fair enough to not push Dan off the track limits, but unfortunately for Dan, that's another position loss to Chris Taylor, and Chris Taylor will now move up to P2, and Dan will be in P3. While that's happened, this battle behind now is getting held up, unfortunately, by Dan Madden. These other two are also battling for position, if I remember correctly, and it is the Porsche of Roy Ankin, and I can only assume behind is definitely the Aston of Ben Oliver. If it is the 121, it's not the 121 of Ben Oliver, so ignore what I've been saying. That's another Aston. That might be Dylan King, so that's another car that's actually been lapped by Roy Enkin. So this is a very awkward situation to be put in, because Roy Enkin now looks around the inside and wants to make the pass move, and then we've got the number 7 of Breno Ellis. That's another car that's going to be battling for position against Dan Madden. So very, very awkward here for these drivers.
100% it is. It's and you know, yes, it's on the lapping car to make their way through safely, but there is nothing in the sporting code that says the car that they're fighting against has to jump out of the way. It is nothing like blue flag rules, and they can defend like a lion to keep those cars behind them. As so we see that the Porsche has made its way through, and Breno Ellis piloting that one, a very, very slick operator. And so we'll now be keeping an eye on Dan and the Aston behind him, and then Stevie Ty, who will also be looking to make a move back through the Pidgey Racing Ferrari there as well. So this is, even though it's a lap car versus, you know, unlapping themselves, this is true, unadulterated, unfiltered, hard racing from these three drivers to try and get these positions or defend these positions. There are no rules that get in the way of these battles here. As we see the blue flags flying in the distance, you sometimes get confused if there is a fan also waving a flag. The Stevie Ty dives down the inside of the 91 Aston there, and he is now going to be Johnny on the spot to make a move on the 777 Ferrari.
Yeah, that's just the nature of endurance racing. It's even worse than a multi-class situation where you've got cars that are much, much slower while you're trying to battle a car of your own class. So this is, like I said, endurance racing at its best. You're battling a car while dealing with lap traffic and traffic trying to unlap themselves due to specific circumstances, perhaps an incident, perhaps they had to fix some damage, so they end up getting lapped, but the driver behind that car that's lapped is technically quicker than you. This is pure endurance racing, and one of the things that makes it so fun.
100% it is, and you know, I've said it on stream before, and I'm going to say it again, but I feel like the heart of OOR, as much as we do all of our short format racing through the week, the real heart of OOR is our endurance series, whether it be the duos, whether it be our full-blown team enduros. I feel like the reason everyone turns up to academy or sprints or over 50s or our mixed class racing week in, week out is to keep our skills sharp when we can all do battle on one track in the same car in our endurance series. And this for me is the epitome of GT3 racing, as we see a very wide line from the 777 there, allowing the 91 to show the nose, and he's flashing him there, which I think's a bit naughty. I don't know whether, because we've caught that on stream, the stewards may have a look at that, but flashing a car that you were trying to unlap yourself to get around, in my book, isn't just naughty, and it's just plain out rude. So, and he's killed him.
Oh,
that's horrendous from the 91 Aston there. Dan Madden is able to rejoin the track. He's got a bit of company from that Porsche there, and no doubt he'll concede the position to that Porsche and continue on his way. But I would very much expect the stewards to be looking at that incident there as I can see that our broadcaster is madly looking for a detailed replay of that incident so we can all see it in full view and real time. And the rear tyres of that 777, due to that spin, are no doubt screaming and overheated. So Dan's just going to have to mind himself for the next minute or so. You know, let those tyre temps calm down and for the grip to come back to that car, because at the moment it's going to be very skatey.
I think that Aston just got a bit too impatient there. That's another thing when you've got drivers of mixed skill levels in the same car, especially something such as extreme of the likes of Chris Cooley and Dan Madden. Obviously, Chris Cooley, highly experienced driver, in fact, an SRO Pro driver, so he's basically top of the top, as you can get, one of the fastest drivers in the APAC region, with Dan Madden, one of our academy drivers, up-and-coming talent, we hope. Working for academy, he hasn't even gone to sprints yet, and that's more likely to happen when you've got situations like this, where you've got your fast driver coming in first, putting in the fast laps, putting you ahead of the field, and all of a sudden you put your slower driver in, and it just turns out that, yeah, we see the incident here, Ryan Smith just ends up touching the rear of that Ferrari, and I hate to say it, but I think that's going to be a pretty hefty penalty for that one.
Yeah, look, I don't normally weigh in on these things from the box, but I'm gonna call that one out. If you're in P19 and you're trying to unlap yourself on a car that's in the top 5, do it with a bit of sensibility. You know, that was a bit too much. I'll move on and I'll leave that because I don't like casting opinions from the commentator's box. As we have a look at Dan Madden, who has gone wide and off the track. He's really struggling into that final hairpin there, is he, poor Dan? And a couple of cars have gone through, and he's got Ataniake behind him now in that Ferrari, sporting Gobby's favourite livery of the evening, as we have 18 minutes left to go in this race. So I can see that Benefield is tucked up and gaining quite heavily on Timmy Purcell in the 149 Aston there. Currently within 6/10 of the car in front there, so no doubt we're going to see a battle and maybe a change of position for P6 as these two squabble over those positions there.
Yeah, going back to Dan Madden, I think it's just a mix of frustration. I wouldn't blame him. I'd be pretty angry myself if that's happened to me. And just dead tires. They don't like spinning like that. It's going to take a couple, 2-3 laps for them to feel somewhat all right. But those next laps just feel absolutely horrible. I can confirm. But now we've got Breno Ellis right on the rear bumper of the Honda of Chris Taylor. So now we've got an interesting battle, because now it's two drivers of the same category, of the same caliber, fighting it out for P2 overall in the race. Lucas Keys has already flown out into the distance, and now it's between these two to who gets to get second spot on the podium, with 16 minutes of racing to go here at Donington Park. The sky is going down, it's turning dark, and we still got some exciting battling ahead of us, as now Breno Ellis is looking to get around the Honda of Chris Taylor, and I don't think Chris is going to make it easy for him, as he does look like he makes a tad bit of a mistake there, but still stays ahead of the Porsche. We'll see what happens after the chicane into the hairpin.
And he's right on the back of him here. Takes a lot of curb, way more curb than I thought the Porsche would be capable of through that chicane there. The gap currently under half a second as he almost kisses the rear bumper through the Melbourne hairpin there, and it looks like he has lost a little bit of time to the Honda in front. But hey, Breno is a seasoned campaigner. I've seen him do some spectacular things in the Audi in split red. and back in the Porsche, which I have no doubt is his first true love here. So he is going to be hunting down Chris Taylor with all of his might. Lap time difference between the two was marginal on that last lap. It was down to 400ths. The other car to keep a really keen eye on in the last 15 minutes of this race is Lee in the 111 Audi, 2.8 seconds off the back of Breno. If Breno and Chris, get caught up in their own battle here and really start sort of having jabs at each other, they're going to slow each other down. And Lee behind is running in clear air and was 0.3 of a second quicker than both of these two leading cars on that lap. So with a gap of 2.8 seconds, it's not going to take him a whole lot of laps to be like, surprise, I'm a part of this party as well. So it's this one's going to go down to the wire.
Yeah, it looks like, that gap is already starting to shrink. I think it was 2.8 before, it's now 2.6. And if these two start squabbling and they're not careful about who's behind, we may get an Audi into the mix. As you see him in the background there, he's just inching closer ever so slightly every lap. These two are gonna start holding each other off, and the Audi's right there. He's not far behind now. Dare I say it might be just about 2 seconds now, the gap between them. Now it's 2.5, so he is inching closer ever so slightly. Might be even less. We know Kunos Delta can do Kunos Delta things. It takes it 10 years to update, it feels like sometimes. But he's definitely there, and I'm sure Breno, with his experience, is expecting him to be on their rear bumpers in the next few laps here.
Well, he was another 0.2 of a second quicker than Breno on that previous lap. So, you can see now there's a car length and a half or 2 car lengths between these cars. And Breno is starting to look for a way through here. So we are going to see a fight and possibly a change of position for P2.
Oop.
As we go to
it's a dual cam.
I was going to say, as we go into the picture-in-picture, we've got Cam 1 and Cam 2 here. So in Cam 1 is the aforementioned battle of Taylor and Ellis for P2, and in Cam 2 we have a battle for P6 of Benefield and Timmy Purcell. So that Porsche is all over the back of the Aston here. Both drivers, well, there you go. So Benefield has a 20-minute tyre delta on Timmy Purcell, so he's on significantly fresher tyres. And anyone that has had anything to do with ACC knows that Porsche is an absolute monster out of corners, and on tracks like this that require, a great ability to rotate and great acceleration. So Timmy Purcell's going to have his hands full trying to keep that Porsche behind him. He's got 12 laps to do it. So for my maths, that's about 9 laps. So he's going to be holding on for dear life for those last 9 and praying to see that checkered flag flying. Timmy?
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time we see a defensive masterclass coming in from that Aston. We saw Josh Holmes do it, and I'm 100% sure Tim Purcell also knows what to do with cars behind him. I'm sure he won't fold under pressure, although I say that there's only 11 minutes of racing to go, so that's the stage where you get a bit stressed out. You really don't want to start losing that position, and when you think too much about it or drive what a lot of people call driving in your mirrors, that's where you tend to do a lot of your mistakes. But I don't think Tim Purcell is going to fold as quick as some other drivers would. As on the left cam, we see the Audi just again inching ever so slightly to the back end of that Porsche. In fact, where's Chris Taylor?
I was about to say,
Chris Taylor's got a drive-through penalty, actually. I completely missed that one. I'm wondering what he got that for.
Maybe our broadcaster can pull up a replay of why he has received that drive-through penalty there. I was about to say, geez, I knew I was right. And it happens once every blue moon that Honda wasn't going to be able to make it to the end on that tank of fuel. But no doubt there's been an incident that has sort of undone all of the good work of that 695 car there, unless it was a penalty for track limits.
Yeah, that's why it didn't show up. I didn't see it show up on the screen, so it could only be that. Looks like they did end up getting a drive-through penalty for track limits, so that is very much a heartbreak for Chris Taylor there, but that's allowed Breno Ellis some clean air, because we see 1.2 seconds behind now is Aaron Lee, so he's really closed that gap, and I'm wondering, even with clean air, if he's still going to be able to pull away from that Audi.
Yeah, that's disappointing for that car. So cop a drive-through with 10 minutes to go for track limits is absolute heartbreak. But look, they drove a super strong race. And we're now looking at the live vision of Benefield in the Porsche Guys 2 or 3, the 912 Porsche right on the back of Timmy Purcell. We've got 9.5 minutes remaining in this race, and that gap is under half a second, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to see a battle here for young and old. And while we're looking at these two cars, I'm just going to give the liveries a bit of a shout out. What great looking liveries on both of these cars. Granted, the livery on the Aston is a bit eclectic, but hey, different strokes for different folks, and the Porsche is all over the back of it.
Keep on going.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I've broken Timmy. It is no doubt late in the evening in Thailand, and I've managed to break my co-conspirator in the steward's box tonight. As we get down to these dying stages, I want to say a big shout out and a thank you to Simrigs for everything they do and their sponsorship and support for our OOR Duo Series. As you can see in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, there is an OOR Patreon's 5% discount in store at Simrigs, and I am a rather recent customer of theirs, and I can tell you that their customer service is second to none. The price was great. The new wheelbase arrived very quickly, and everything went as well as could be expected. So, big shout out to them. We thank them for all the support, and we couldn't do what we do on a weekly basis without our great sponsors like them. So as we have a look here, the 777 has gotten involved in this battle here, and this is going to be very awkward for Dan. Very awkward for that poor fella. So he's got 7.5 minutes to keep these two cars behind, so probably 4 laps. I think what's going to play to his favour is that Benefield is nipping at the back of the heels of Timmy. So Timmy's not only having to look forward to try and make a move on Dan, but he's also having to look in his mirrors and defend from a hard-charging Benefield behind. Tim?
Like Dan went a bit sideways there, and in fact, he did go off track. I was about to say, being in the middle of these, especially these three-way battles, is, in my opinion, the worst spot you could be in, because you're the car that has to attack, but at the same time, you have to defend as well, and it gets very awkward at times. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, fortunately for Tim Purcell, and unfortunately for Dan Madden did do a mistake there and end up with him going off track, and now that's given Tim Purcell the clear air, and now he can focus on defending the charging Porsche of Daniel Benefield, as there are 6.5 minutes left. As I say that, commentators curse, he's gone wide, and now Daniel Benefield has managed to get ahead of the Aston.
Yeah, I think we're to blame, boys, for that one, unfortunately. He ran very wide, but that's what we were talking about before. Tim was being forced to drive in his mirrors. Benefield was all over the back of him and making him second guess not only his braking points but his turn-in points. Whether he was going to be able to get to the apex, or was there going to be a purple Porsche on his inside blocking his path there. And what Benefielder's been able to do is force a mistake out of Tim Purcell, which then meant that the overtake was quite simple. That car ran wide, left the door wide open, and the 912 has charged straight through. So we're down to the dying minutes of our Duro Series race here at the amazing Donington Park. We have, I mean, look, everyone can see the timing tree, but I'm going to read it to make me feel a little bit better. So your top three are Lucas Keys, Breno Ellis, and Adam Lee. Dan Madden holding on for dear life, currently in 7th and leading the silver class. We then have Pickford in the 991 GTR in 2nd in silver, and Mr. Loopty in P12, currently taking out P3 in class. Ankin is currently leading our Pro-Am charge in the 914 Porsche, followed by Bank in the 538 McLaren, and Baker down in P18 in the 216 Mustang, rounding out our podium there for the Pro-Am. So I'm just seeing, so there's a 5-second penalty showing on the timing tree for King in that 91 Aston there, which I can only assume is for the previous contact that we saw on stream.
That was earlier. He's already had that. I think the stewards are probably. I'm wondering if also Cooley sent in a protest, because with these races, unlike our sprint races, second driver has to submit a protest form instead of like the sprint races where we just call our numbers. I reckon he sent one in. But this is a good learning experience here for Dan Madden. Unfortunately, there was a couple heartbreaks here and there, and he has done a couple mistakes, but at the same time, how can you blame him being surrounded by the top of the tree when it comes to OOR, when it comes to drivers? So he's still been handling it very well if we look at the circumstances, and in fact, he's still in the top 10. That's still bragging points, bragging rights, especially as a rookie. To finish in the top 10 in one of these OOR events is no small feat.
Oh, look, exceptional drive from Dan there in that 777 Ferrari, and being able to, as you said, be surrounded by guys of just such skill, experience, and pace. He's driven fantastically. Now, as I cast my eyes down the timing tree, I've finally found a great excuse to direct our attention to the 444 Nissan GTR, down in 22nd place, currently less than half a second off the 72 Ferrari there, battling for P21 and 22. So I know it's a little bit down the order, but it is the closest battle that we currently have on track here, and we've got the monumental power and straight line speed of the Nissan GTR up against the agility of the Ferrari here, as Mr. Hoppinskin, I can never say his surname right. We all just call him Rusty. As Rusty is going to look for a way around Bowden here in that 72. They sail through the chicane, both cars taking it very nicely, and Rusty is shaping up. He's gone to the inside. He's looking for a move into the first hairpin here. Can he get him under brakes? And he has. The door was left rather wide open there, and Rusty has steamed on through. I mean, look, hate to toot our own horn, but what a move there from Rusty. Well done. Moving up the timing tree.
That was a very nice, very clean move from Mr. Hopkinson there. Very happy for him. I don't think they've had the best start of the race. If I remember correctly, they fell into a couple of issues, but they're fighting back up. And in fact, that was not just for position, but also for position in class, and that puts them 4th in the Pro-Am category, currently in P21. But that was very nice overtake, very nice battling. Unfortunately, we only saw the end of it, but Rusty was keeping it clean, showing that Ferrari that big front end of the GTR, and perhaps it honestly kind of looked like the 72 there did not really want any of it, perhaps spooking them a little bit. But as we go back with our leaders, with currently 30 seconds to go, I'm wondering if they have to do one more lap here.
No.
Would not be close.
This, as far as I'm aware, this will be the last. As Keys crosses the line here, that will then be the final lap of the race. He could stop.
Could do something hilarious there.
He could slow down, but I look.
He's driving
If Keys is anything, he is a determined racing driver, and that just doesn't fit the competitive nature of what we do. So this is the final lap of our duo series here at Donington. And you know, what a race. What a race. There's been some ups and downs. There was an underdog story that we were all following and cheering our hearts out for, hoping that Dan could do the undoable, win the unwinnable, and do the impossible. But you know, it's been a race. It's definitely been a race. There's been a lot going on, Timmy.
I definitely agree with you. It's been exciting. That last hour and a half, just packed with action, and that's the fantastic part about this duo series. It's a lot of strategy goes into it with the limited driver stints, and just also just the competitive nature of it, because it's what I would call a mini enduro. How beautiful is that shot with the private jet landing in the background there? But as Lucas Keys goes around the Melbourne hairpin, he only has one more corner to manage, and you know, you call him a hard racer. He doesn't drift. Look at him. That's what I mean. He's a show-off, drifting around the final corner as he goes and crosses the start-finish line to win round 2 of, I think it's season 3 of the Octane Online Racing Duo Series, as we have our P2 contender here currently going around the second last corner into the last corner they go, and that will be the number 7 of Breno Ellis and Mitch Hobbs going around the final corner, and that will give them P2 overall in their race. I'm sure they won't be too upset about that one, and Aaron Lee will take P3 in, I would say, an underdog of a car, which is the Audi. That's a fantastic result, and unfortunately it was not to be for Chris Taylor. We'll have to settle for P4 after that drive-through penalty, which is a very, very unfortunate, and I don't think they will be particularly happy with that result, knowing that they could have had P2, as Daniel Benefield will end up P5.
And John Madden. Apologies. Dan Madden is going to cross the line in P6, and then Luke Johnson in P7. Now, while I've got a quick break in the finishers crossing the line, I've got a little gripe that I've got with all of our viewers. Currently, we have 30 people watching the stream, and the video has 9 likes. Guys, hit that like button. It doesn't cost you anything, but what it does allow is it puts the organisation that we all love, it puts it further and further up the algorithm to bring in new members, to show people that haven't seen what we do. So smash that like button, get involved. Doesn't cost you anything to do that one there. And what a race we had here at Donington Park. As I said, we had some heartbreak, we had some up and downs, we had some fantastic battling and fantastic driving all the way through the field.
Yeah, I saw Benefield lost connection or something, but I agree. OOR is a fantastic community. We've got races for all calibers of driver. You don't have to be the fastest in the world to join in. We have our Academy series. If you're new to sim racing and would like to take a kick into what is league racing, we'll introduce you. We've got fantastic race directors, people that'll teach you how to drive the tracks. It's a fantastic community, and like Sam O'Brien said, by clicking that like button, you're showing this community what we do and what we stand for, and it's a fantastic community to be a part in. And everyone in this community on the racetrack, we're racing each other as hard as we can, but out of races, we're helping each other. It's a fantastic community. But anyways, as we have the overall race results, Lucas Keys and Jamie Conboy will take a win with a dominant performance, followed by Breno Ellis and Mitch Hobbs in P2. And Aaron Lee and Stevie Tai will take the final step of the podium for the pro category. In silver class, it will be Dan Madden and Chris Keeley will take that top spot for the silver drivers. Absolutely fantastic performance for Dan Madden. Pickford and Johnson will take P2, and Jaden Rondinella and Mike Craig will take the final step of the podium for silver class. In the Pro-Am, we have Tura Bank and C. Wren will take the top spot of the podium, followed by Roy Ankin and Spenceley in P2, and Baker and Lloyd will take the final spot of the podium for our Pro-Am category. Woo! That was an absolute fantastic race, and I'm glad I've been able to commentate it. What do you feel about it, Sam?
Oh, look, that was great. That was great. I've said it twice, but we had some ups, we had some downs, we had some heartbreak, we had some fantastic wheel-to-wheel racing between all of our drivers out there, and like always, the boys and girls operating those machines have put on a fantastic show for us tonight. So that's it from me. That kind of sums up the race for me, Timmy. I don't know if you've got any final thoughts on that one.
But one more thing: do you have a driver of the day?
Look, I'm going to go Dan Madden before you can, so you've got to think of a different one. But
who said I had to take a different name? Of course, it's going to be Dan Madden getting put in the middle of all these drivers and getting a P6. I don't care if Chris Cooley brought the car into first place and gave him a massive gap. He still had to end the race and getting P6. It's a fantastic effort for Dan Madden. I'm gonna give all my fucking all my respect to Dan Madden. Sorry, I'm just so happy for him.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being with us. Thanks for watching. We've got more to come in the Duo series. Don't forget that we've got our normal midweek racing in our sprint series kicking off on Wednesday and Thursday nights respectively. We're in for a tantalising 60-minute race in mixed conditions at Bathurst coming your way and on your screens very, very soon. I have been Sam O'Brien. I've been accompanied by the always colourful Tim Gobe and our amazing a broadcaster and league organizer, Glenn, in the booth and driving the cameras. Thanks so much. Good evening and good night.
Good night, people. Apologies for